Chapter 2673. Moreover, from Yawang's point of view, girls were just like that. Even if the first time was given to someone she didn't like, as long as the person put in some effort, it was possible to capture her heart, letting her remember the truth of the previous process was also the purpose. When Yuning found out that the person she had a relationship with was Zhao Qibing, she might even fall in love with him. But now, Yuning's mind was replaying the scene like a movie. Lin Yi was restored to Zhao Qibing, the waiter was restored to Zhao Qibing's follower, and Yang Huaijuan was actually the real Lin Yi. The reason why she was like this was because of Zhao Qibing's aphrodisiac. Yuning, who knew the truth, was ashamed and angry. The real Lin Yi was clearly in front of her, and he wanted to do something with her, but she rejected him. And in her heart, she was thinking about the fake Lin Yi. Really? Zhao Qibing, you bastard. Yuning was getting more and more awake, and more regretful. She wanted Lin Yi to stop giving her the antidote and continue doing what they were doing, but she didn't have the strength to speak. Of course, even if she had the strength, Yuning knew that this was reality, and she couldn't make up her mind to do this. Although she liked Lin Yi, she also knew her mission and future. Before the plan started, she had to maintain her virginity. Although Yuning didn't know what the plan was, the old ancestor of House Yu and Yu Shaoqin had warned her more than once, telling her not to be impulsive. Of course, with too many warnings, Yuning would rebel and say, "I'll break with Lin Yi." So what? This also caused the hidden House Yu to guard against Lin Yi like a thief. Fire, theft, and Lin Yi became the hidden House Yu's motto and safety slogan all these years, putting Yuning in a state of semi-house arrest. In fact, sometimes Yuning regretted it. If it wasn't for her rebellious youth and saying such words, the hidden House Yu wouldn't have guarded her like this, guarding against Lin like a thief. They couldn't let the hidden House Yu kill Lin Yi whenever they had the chance. No one knew that the hidden House Yu's old ancestor was so determined to kill Lin Yi because of Yuning's words. Even if Yuning explained afterwards, the old ancestor didn't believe her and was still very wary of Lin Yi, afraid that Lin Yi would ruin his plan. After Lin Yi removed all the toxins from Yuning's body, he put away the silver needles on her body. However, Yuning's body was sweating, and the excreted potions were all over her body, emitting a foul smell. After putting away the silver needles, Lin Yi stood up, turned around, and walked out of the room. Yuning saw that Lin Yi was leaving and wanted to stop him, but because of her weak body, she couldn't say half a word. Looking at Lin Yi's figure disappear at the door of the room, Yuning was suddenly very disappointed. In fact, Lin Yi didn't want to leave but to find a dry towel. He went to the wardrobe in the outer room, opened it, took out a dry towel from inside, and then turned and walked into the inner room again. Yuning saw that Lin Yi had returned, and she was very surprised. After Lin Yi came over, he lifted Yuning's clothes and helped her wipe her body. Just now, he had touched her body, and Lin Yi didn't care anymore. Anyway, he had decided to face this former love head-on, and he would no longer have any scruples. Yuning was wiped by Lin Yi, and her heart was both shy and warm. Yuning closed her eyes and quietly enjoyed the warmth of this moment. Lin Yi naturally didn't know that Yuning had regained her consciousness. He thought that she was in an illusion, so he didn't talk to her. After all, Lin Yi didn't know how long the Medicine King's potion could last. Lin Yi only expelled most of the potion from Yuning's body. There must be a small part remaining, and this part Lin Yi didn't care about it. With the passage of time, it would be turned into urine and excreted. It didn't have much impact on the body, so there was no need to rush to expel it. This didn't seem like poison. If it was poison, Lin Yi could only do the same thing he did to the miss and let Yuning force the poison out of her body. After wiping Yuning's body, Lin Yi stood up again. Yuning thought that Lin Yi was really going to leave this time. She wanted to stop him, but her weak body still made her unable to speak. Lin Yi didn't actually want to leave, but went to the bathroom, washed the towel with water, and then walked back again. ready to wipe Yu Ning's body with a wet towel again. Yu Ning saw that Lin Yi came back again, and her heart was surprised. But this time, Yu Ning's physical strength had recovered a little, so her surprised facial expression betrayed her sober state at this moment. "You're awake." Lin Yi's footsteps stagnated, and he was a little embarrassed. He held the towel in his hand, but he didn't know if he should continue to help Yu Ning wipe her body, because Lin Yi didn't know if Yu Ning still had the previous memory, and even if she did, Yu Ning thought that he was Yang Huaijuan, which made Lin Yi very embarrassed. And Yu Ning was also a little embarrassed. Her situation was seen by Lin Yi. Naturally, she couldn't continue to pretend to be confused, but when she thought that she rejected Lin Yi as Yang Huaijuan, Yu Ning was a little mad. Even if she didn't have anything to do with Lin Yi, kissing and hugging would be fine, but now, oh, it's good that you're awake. However, Lin Yi was a little surprised. Yu Ning saw him, but why wasn't she surprised at all? It was reasonable to say that Yu Ning should be very surprised. Did she think that he was Yang Huaijuan? Thinking of this situation, Lin Yi suddenly felt that it was very possible. So he pointed to his nose and asked, "Who am I?" When Yu Ning heard Lin Yi's question, her little face suddenly turned red, but this question had to be answered, so Yu Ning said shyly, "Lin, I'm sorry before I didn't know it was you. Ugh." Then you knew after that. After listening to Yu Ning's answer, Lin Yi was slightly stunned, but then he asked, "You woke up after that? You woke up before that?" "And I didn't have the strength to speak before. I'm sorry." Yu Ning was very apologetic. She felt that Lin Yi's heart should be very hurt. It was not easy for him to take the initiative, but she ruthlessly rejected him. "I really didn't mean it before. I ate Xiao Qibing's potion, and I imagined him to be you. After you came in, I thought you were Yang Huaijuan." Chapter 2674. Reunion after a long separation, however. After saying this sentence, Lin Yi didn't know what to say. After all, the two people hadn't seen each other for a long time. If something happened before, it wouldn't be so awkward. But nothing happened, and there was some misunderstanding. This made Lin Yi really feel speechless. Long time no see. Long time no see. After a moment of silence, the two people didn't expect to speak at the same time and said the same sentence, which made both of them a little surprised. However, after saying this sentence, the two people really didn't know what to say. The current situation was different from usual. Lin Yi just helped Yu Ning detoxify, and Yu Ning was kidnapped by Xiao Qibing. Lin Yi didn't know what to talk about after thinking about it. Lin Yi could only politely say, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" What Lin Yi didn't expect was that Yu Ning actually asked this question at the same time. This made Lin Yi a little funny, and Yu Ning naturally thought the same. She originally wanted to ease the awkward atmosphere between the two people, but she didn't expect Lin Yi to say the same thing as her. However, this really eased the atmosphere between the two people, and the two people couldn't help but smile at each other. "Well, I'm fine, but not too well." Yu Ning really didn't think that she would see Lin Yi again in such a situation. Originally, she thought that it would be difficult for her to see Lin Yi, but she didn't expect that in her most critical moment, Lin Yi would appear again just like before, on the night that she was most afraid of. Lin Yi gave her warmth and let her spend a peaceful Valentine's Day. Out of the longing for Lin Yi and the nostalgia for the past, Yu Ning unconsciously opened the chatterbox and began to tell Lin Yi about her longing for Lin Yi, especially when she thought of the overbearing words that Lin Yi said to Xiao Qibing when he first entered the door. It made Yu Ning secretly happy. It seemed that Lin Yi still liked her, and his feelings had never changed. So after a short period of silence, the words that Yu Ning had kept in her heart for the past few years gushed out like a flood, opening the floodgates. "Lin Yi, do you know how much I've missed you all these years? From that time, when my brother Yang told me about your reappearance, do you know how excited I was? I wanted to come and see you so badly." Yu Ning began to talk about her longing for Lin Yi. Once the chatterbox was opened, it was hard to stop. After that, I have been paying attention to your news through my brother until you went to the ice palace together to participate in the test. Do you know, I was happy and worried at the same time. My brother said that you lost your strength, and I was like a headless fly trying to get some treasures for you from home. But the next day, I heard from my brother that you recovered your strength, and I was so happy. You defeated Zhang Naipeo and Feng Nitian, two masters from the ancient level. I was happy for your strength, but I was also afraid that the power behind them would cause trouble for you. But now, it seems that they didn't do that, which made me feel relieved. It's just that when I found out that you went to the ice palace for your girlfriend, I felt sad, but also happy for her. You were willing to take such a risk for her. Do you know how envious, jealous, and hateful I will be in the days to come? But today, I don't envy them anymore, because when I was in danger, you came too, which means that in your heart, I am as important as her. Yu Ning was born in the hidden house Yu, and the concept of monogamy wasn't very clear. After all, she grew up in a family with 3 wives and 4 concubines. She didn't think that Lin Yi having a girlfriend had any conflict with her. She was just happy that Lin Yi still remembered her. Ha! Lin Yi smiled. Your position in my heart is actually very special. Although I can't say that you are more important than Xiao Xiao, you are still unique. And Yu Ning was already very happy that Lin Yi said that. But after that, my brother stayed in the ice palace, and I didn't have any news about you. My family didn't tell me about your situation, and they didn't tell me about you. It seems that they still don't agree with me being with you. Right, you already know about my background. Right, before, Lin wasn't very clear about the concept of noble houses and hidden houses. When he was training with Yu Ning, he only knew that Yu Ning's house was very powerful, but he didn't know much about it. That was why Yu Ning asked this question. After all, when Lin Yi participated in the Ice Palace test, he couldn't fight against the hidden houses at all. Later, when Lin Yi was injured, House Yu sent people to kill Lin Yi. So, in Yu Ning's impression, it was impossible for Lin Yi to fight against the hidden house Yu. And the young miss of the hidden house Yu, Lin Yi said. However, Lin Yi was a bit confused. Why would the old ancestor of House Yu object to Yu Ning being with him? The strength that Lin Yi displayed now was enough to make most of the hidden houses lower their heads. Even if the hidden house Yu was stronger and didn't lower their heads in front of Lin Yi, there was no need to go against them. It was better to rope them in. Marrying Yu Ning over was actually the best way to ease the relationship between the hidden house Yu and Lin Yi. From Lin Yi's point of view, the hidden houses were more conservative, and they valued men over women. If they could rope him in, it would be reasonable for them to give up their daughter, right? Yu Yuxing could marry his daughter to Zhao Guangyin. Why couldn't he marry Lin Yi? This was something that Lin Yi didn't understand. No matter what, he was much stronger than that useless Zhao Guangyin, right? Then, what is your strength now? Yu Ning saw that Lin Yi didn't have any special expression and was a bit disappointed. She thought that Lin Yi was still the same as before, afraid of the hidden house Yu's power. Earth class middle phase peak, Lin Yi said. Ah, you're already Earth class middle phase peak? Yu Ning's eyes widened. She couldn't believe it. Lin Yi's leveling speed was actually this fast. At the time of the Ice Palace's trial, Lin Yi was only Mystic class late phase. How did he reach Earth class middle phase peak so fast? It's not that fast. Not as fast as the disciples of the noble houses. Lin Yi laughed at himself. That Zhao Qibing, at first, was just an ordinary garbage person, but after eating a lot of elixirs, he forcefully increased his strength to Earth class early phase. And he could even practice martial arts. It only took a few months. Chapter 2675. That requires elixirs. Actually, not all hidden houses have elixirs in stock. They need to buy from the ancient sects. Yu Ning said. Haha, I understand. Lin Yi didn't think much of it. Wasn't he selling large amounts of elixirs to the hidden houses? Zhao Qibing's current strength was probably because he ate the elixirs Lin Yi sold, so Lin Yi had to thank him for his contribution to Xiaoke's orphanage. Right? Do you have any contact with the disciples of the hidden houses? Yu Ning was concerned about Lin Yi's current status. If Lin Yi could become good friends with the disciples of the hidden houses, just like with Yu Bing, then there would be less resistance for them to be together in the future. Even if they couldn't be together now, but after that incident, Yu Ning would be able to be together with Lin Yi after she completed her mission. The disciples of the hidden houses? Are they all right? Lin Yi smiled. I have a good relationship with the Hidden House Pai, House Han, and House Shuang. Well, that's good. If you are good friends with the children of these families, then my grandfather will definitely look at you differently in the future, Yu Ning said. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Yu Ning was naive. The disciples of the hidden houses were not just good friends of Lin Yi. They were Lin Yi's lackeys. Even their elders were following Lin Yi around. How could the old ancestor of House Yu not see it? Under these circumstances, he still didn't extend an olive branch to Lin Yi. This meant that the hidden House Yu either had a stronger backer or had some unspeakable reason. Right now, Lin Yi was standing at the top of the hidden houses, at least on the surface, but the old ancestor of House Yu still treated Lin Yi like this. There must be something wrong. It was just that Lin Yi couldn't explain these things to Yu Ning. There were some things that she might not know. Who knew what the hidden House Yu was planning? Just like the hidden house Xiao. They didn't have any backing, but they kept going against him. As for Zhao Qibing, Lin Yi was helpless. According to Lin Yi, he should have killed Zhao Qibing earlier, but Lin Yi couldn't do that. His rationality overcame his impulsiveness. If Lin Yi killed Zhao Qibing, then it would break the peace between the hidden houses and Lin Yi. Among the hidden houses, Lin Yi didn't have a lot of support. At least, he had enmity with the hidden house Yu, the hidden house Yu, the hidden house Xiao, and the Qianshan sect. If Lin Yi killed Zhao Qibing, then the other hidden houses would be in danger. If they really joined forces, Lin Yi wouldn't be a match at all. Lin Yi was one of them. He knew his own business. Although Lin Yi looked strong on the surface and could easily kill Sky-class masters, that was only based on sneak attacks. He couldn't do continuous sneak attacks, so Lin Yi had been very careful. While he was threatening the hidden houses, he didn't touch their bottom line. If he made a move on one of them, they might join forces to fight against him. But if he didn't make a move on one of them, they would only care about their own matters. They wouldn't easily join forces. This was also the reason why Lin Yi let Zhao Qibing go. But this time, Lin Yi didn't let Zhao Qibing go easily. His third leg, even if Yao Wang wanted to heal it, it would take a lot of effort. It's almost time. I'll send you home, Lin Yi said when he saw that Yu Ning's spirit was getting better. Go home. Yu Ning wanted to spend more time with Lin Yi, but she suddenly remembered that she was caught by Lin Yi. Her family must be panicking. Also, if her grandpa came and saw her together with Lin Yi, what if he misunderstood something and killed Lin Yi in anger? Thinking of this, Yu Ning quickly nodded. Lin Yi, will you contact me often in the future? Of course, I will tell you my phone number. You can call me at any time, Lin Yi said with a smile. Well, okay, I will call you when I have the chance. Yu Ning nodded happily. Pack up, I'll send you back, Lin Yi said. En, you want to send me? Before, Lin Yi said that he would send her home. Yu Ning thought she heard wrong, but Lin Yi said it again. Yu Ning was sure that she didn't hear wrong, so she was a little confused. Is what you said true? What's so strange about this? Lin Yi was also stunned, but he didn't think too much about it. If you go to my house, aren't you afraid that my dad and my grandpa will leave you there? Do you really dare to go back with me? Yu Ning stared at Lin Yi incredulously. She really couldn't understand why Lin Yi dared to go back with her. Wasn't he afraid of seeing his family? Maybe I didn't dare to go before, but now it doesn't matter. If I stay, your grandpa won't dare, Lin Yi said faintly. Don't dare? Yu Ning looked at Lin Yi with some shock. If it wasn't for her impression that Lin wasn't a person who talked big, She would even think that Lin Yi was talking nonsense. The old master of the hidden house, you didn't dare to make Lin Yi stay. One must know that the hidden house you was the top existence among the hidden houses. Lin Yi could actually compete with them? Hee hee, you'll know when you get there. Lin Yi smiled and stood up, then walked to the camera not far away, turned off the camera, took out the memory card, and put it in Yuning's hand. This memory card, there is evidence of Zhao Qibing kidnapping you. You can do whatever you want with it. And Yuning didn't care about the evidence, but after that, the scene of her and Lin Yi getting along. This video would be a precious memory that Yuning would keep forever. Yuning decided to keep this memory card forever. When she had nothing to do, she would take it out and look at it. In the past, Yuning's biggest regret was that she didn't take a photo with Lin Yi, so she could only use drawing instead. But now, the male and female protagonists in this video were her and Lin Yi. When she missed Lin Yi, she could take it out and look at it. Yuning carefully put away the memory card for fear of losing it, but she was also afraid that Lin Yi would see her purpose. Her face was a little red, and she didn't dare to look directly at Lin Yi. However, when she saw that Lin Yi didn't care and put away the camera, Yuning breathed a sigh of relief. Let's go. I'm all packed. In fact, Yuning didn't have much to clean up. She just fixed her messy hair and pulled up the corner of her wrinkled clothes. Chapter 2676. And Yuning nodded shyly, but she didn't break free. In fact, in her heart, she was willing to do anything with Lin Yi. But because of the plan, Yuning couldn't dedicate herself. But holding hands and kissing Lin Yi, she could accept it. Lin Yi naturally pulled Yuning out of the room, and then the two took the elevator downstairs, outside the hotel. Yuning was blown by the cold wind outside, but she was sober. Lin Yi, how did you get here so quickly? Weren't you in Songshan? In Yuning's impression, she was still in Songshan when Lin Yi was in Songshan. When Lin Yi went to Donghai City, she basically lost contact with the outside world, so she didn't know that Lin Yi went to Donghai City. I am now at Donghai City University. Lin Yi said, I rushed here. Of course, someone told me, I will tell you, don't tell others. And Yuning nodded quickly. Lin Yi wanted her to keep the secret. She naturally couldn't speak casually. It's Zhao Qibing's follower. He is actually my man, Lin Yi said. Ah? You have already placed your men in the hidden Zhao family? Yuning looked at Lin Yi with surprise. Hee, in fact, the hidden Yu family also has them. Lin Yi smiled. But these are not important. I will send you back first. And, okay. On the one hand, Yuning was amazed by the strength of Lin Yi's ability. On the other hand, she felt that Lin Yi had too many enemies. Lin Yi had placed his men in these families. Didn't that mean that his relationship with these families was hostile? So Yuning couldn't help but worry. Did you offend these families? I can't say that I offended them. They are against me. I can't do anything about it. Lin Yi shrugged and took Lin Yi to a secluded place near the hotel. Yuning was somewhat puzzled. Why did Lin Yi bring her here? Just as he was about to ask, he saw Lin Yi wave his hand, and a strange spirit beast charged over. Yuning lived in a hidden family. Naturally, she was no stranger to spirit beasts. She even had a spirit beast of her own. She had brought it with her since she was a child, but this spirit beast was fine. But during this time, it was inexplicably sick. It looked like it was seriously injured. Yuning was very worried, but there was nothing she could do. After all, no one in the hidden house Yu knew how to raise a spirit beast. The old ancestor of House Yu saw the spirit beast's condition and didn't say anything, so Yuning didn't know what to do. Spirit beast? Yuning's spirit beast was much smaller than the purple thunder beast, but it did not prevent Yuning from recognizing that the purple thunder beast was a spirit beast. Yeah, its name is Little Fong, and it's very fast. That's why I could come here so quickly from East Ocean City, Lin Yi said. Ah, so you have a spirit beast. Yuning was even more surprised. She didn't expect that when she met Lin Yi again, Lin Yi even had a spirit beast. It was almost like she didn't know Lin Yi at all. And this spirit beast originally belonged to the Qian Mountain sect. At the Hidden House Summit, they wanted to use this spirit beast to kill me. They didn't expect me to take it. Your grandfather was very angry at that time. Lin Yi smiled. At the Hidden House Summit, they couldn't stop me. Now, they won't be able to stop me. Lin Yi, aren't you just an Earth-class mid-stage peak master now? Yu Ning was a little surprised. At that time, they let you take this spirit beast away? Hee, my strength is indeed Earth-class mid-stage peak. But there are some things that you will slowly understand. It's hard to explain in a few words. In short, I can fight people who are stronger than me. Lin Yi's situation couldn't be explained in a few words. Yu Ning hugged the back of Lin Yi's waist and rode on the purple lightning beast. Her forehead gently leaned on Lin Yi's back, quietly enjoying this moment of happiness. What happened today made Yu Ning feel unreal. It was as if happiness came too fast and too sudden. She was afraid that she would lose it. Only by hugging Lin Yi and leaning on his body could she clearly feel his existence. Xiaofeng, go to Sky Rain Town. This is the map. Lin Yi took out the navigation map from his phone and showed it to the purple lightning beast. Roar, dash, the purple lightning beast looked at it and nodded to show that it remembered. Then, it galloped in the direction of Sky Rain Town. Hidden House Xiao. Uncle Zhu didn't drive this time. Instead, he found a friend of the Hidden House who was familiar with this area and used a private plane to send Zhao Qibing back to the Hidden House. Although he really wanted Zhao Qibing to become a eunuch, and it would be best if he died. He was the spy that Lin Yi planted in the Hidden House. Before he was exposed, he had to do his best to avoid suspicion, especially after this incident. It would be strange if Zhao Qibing didn't suspect him of leaking the secret. So, Uncle Zhu was very proactive. Old Zhao had heard from Uncle Zhu that Zhao Qibing was kicked into a eunuch by Lin Yi. He was shocked and angry. He quickly brought Zhao Qibing into the Hidden House with Yao Wang. Grandpa, I didn't think that Lin Yi would actually go. Ouch, it hurts, Zhao Qibing said as he grimaced in pain. Yao Wang, take a look at Qibing's injuries. Although old Zhao was worried, he still looked calm on the surface. Yes, Yao Wang quickly nodded and checked on Zhao Qibing's injuries. At that moment, old man Zhao said, Uncle Zhu, what's going on? How did Lin Yi know about this? I don't know. Uncle Zhu's face was full of confusion and anger. Who knows how that Lin Yi knew about it? This is really strange. I only found out the truth moments before the mission to capture Yuning. Could it be that someone else knew about it before me? There's a mole. There must be a mole. Definitely. Old master. I think that there's something fishy about this. We need to investigate this. Investigate it thoroughly, mole. Old Zhao originally suspected that Uncle Zhu was a traitor, but after hearing him say that he only found out the truth moments before the mission to capture Yuning, he hesitated. Looking at his indignant face, it didn't seem like he was the one who leaked the secret. Could it be that there was a mole? The only ones who knew about this were Yushan himself and Elder Mian. The only one left was Zhao Qibing. He and Zhao Qibing couldn't have leaked the secret. Yushan participated in the mission, so it wouldn't benefit him at all if he leaked the secret. The only one left was Elder Mian. Could it be that there was a problem with Elder Mian? With that thought, old Zhao turned to Elder Mian. Chapter 2677. Grandpa, I don't think it was our people who leaked the secret. When Yu Ning was caught by me, she was still talking about Lin Yi's name. Her lover is Lin Yi. I'm guessing that Yu Ning went on a date with Lin Yi, but I was King unlucky. Zhao Qibing calmed down and analyzed the situation. There was no way that Elder Mian and Yushan would leak the secret, and Uncle Zhu was the last to find out. Even if he leaked the secret, he wouldn't have the time to do so. Plus, he had no motive to leak the secret. He was beaten up by Lin Yi and Wu Qintian before, and he hated Lin Yi more than anything. How could he help Lin Yi? Thinking about it, this was the only explanation. Besides, Lin Yi said that he and Yu Ning had that kind of relationship. Sigh, I'm so unlucky. If I knew that Yu Ning was Lin Yi's woman, I wouldn't have done this even if I had to eat shit. Is that so? Old Zhao froze and nodded. If Lin Yi and Yu Ning have a relationship, then it's hard to say. Forget it, let's not talk about this. Yao Wang, how is Qibing's injury? Old head, Qibing's injury is very serious. This Lin Yi is very cunning. When he kicked, he didn't just kick, he added pure qi into it. He blew up the meridians around Qibing's yang part. On the surface, it looks like his yang part is broken, but in reality, even if he ate a small Huan pill, it would only heal the surface. The inside can't be healed. Unless we use a great Huan pill, Yao Wang said after a careful examination. That's serious? Old Zhao was shocked. Zhao Qibing was the future head of the house, and the hidden house Zhao couldn't be wiped out. So he quickly asked then, other than the great Huan pill, is there any other way? I can only try. I can't guarantee anything. Yao Wang hesitated and said, I'm 50% sure. That's good. It's good that there's hope. Lord Zhao was finally relieved. Of course, you don't have to worry too much. The hidden house Zhao won't stop. Although Master Bing can't have sex anymore, he can use other methods of artificial insemination. It's just more troublesome. Yao Wang was proficient in medicine, so he reassured Grandpa Zhao. That's good. After old Master Zhao heard it, he was even more relieved. Then you try your best. It's fine if you don't have sex. This time, you suffered a loss because of a woman. In the future, you can't suffer this kind of loss again. Qibing was crying in his heart. He was crying. All right, let's put this aside for now. Elder Mian, we need to think about how we should deal with this. The ambush didn't work, so our relationship with the hidden house you will only worsen. We need to think of a way to appease the anger of the hidden house you. Old Zhao said. After Elder Mian heard it, he finally let out a sigh of relief. It seemed like old Zhao didn't suspect him anymore. However, he couldn't think of a good way to deal with it. He could only say, let me think about it. And Qibing, do you have any ideas? Old Zhao turned to look at Qibing, who was being treated by Yao Wang. Grandpa, didn't Lin Yi go? Why don't we just tell the hidden house you that it was Lin Yi who took Yu Ning away? Anyway, when I was researching with Yushan, we did our research. Let Yushan tell his grandpa that it was Lin Yi who took Yu Ning away. Wouldn't that be the case? Qibing thought about it and said, didn't we blame the qi gathering pill on Lin Yi last time? It was a lucky hit. It should be the same this time, right? It won't work this time. Old Zhao shook his head. Let's not talk about Yao Wang's medicine. Yu Ning will be able to remember what happened after the effect ends. Plus, she has evidence. You two idiots, you didn't even take the camera with you when you left. Do you think the hidden house you doesn't know the truth? That Qibing thought about it. Not only would Yu Ning remember the truth, but even if she couldn't, there was still the camera. He and Uncle Zhu left in a hurry and forgot about this. That I was also scared by Lin Yi. I'm sorry, old master, Uncle Zhu said, sweating. Forget it. Lin Yi is very strong. It's normal for you to be scared. Even I, a Sky class master, am scared when I see Lin Yi. Old Zhao didn't continue to blame them. Instead, he said, Elder Mian, do you have a plan? Old master, from what I see, since we can't hide it anymore, other than taking the initiative to admit our mistakes, is there any other way? Elder Mian smiled bitterly. It's not impossible to take the initiative to admit the mistake. We can push all the blame to Yushan and say that Qibing was tricked by him. Let me think. Let me sort out my thoughts. Old Zhao was indeed a sinister person. He thought of a solution in a moment. Isn't Yu Ning and Lin Yi's lover? I have an idea. We'll say that Yushan was injured by Lin Yi. He wanted to take revenge, but didn't have the strength, so He used Qibing to kidnap Yuning to take revenge on Lin Yi. What do you think? Ha ha, I'm a genius. That's right. Qibing slapped his thigh excitedly. But Yao Wang was in the middle of inserting the needle, and the needle went into his egg. Qibing cried out in pain. Ouch, my egg. It hurts. Yao Wang was a little embarrassed. It's fine. It's just a small injury. It won't be a big deal. Master Bing, don't move, okay? Qibing was so scared that he didn't dare to slap his thigh anymore. Grandpa, that's a good move, but I don't feel good about Yushan becoming the scapegoat. After all, he came here to help me. He can't get away no matter what. Even if you don't blame it on him, he won't be able to recover this time. It's better to let him be used as trash and use him to his fullest potential. Old Zhao waved his hand and said, one had to admit that old Zhao was quite a skillful person. He got it right twice by a fluke. This time he blamed it on Yushan. Other than not knowing Yuning's value to the Hidden House Yu, he didn't know that Yushan wanted to take revenge on the Hidden House Yu, but he was right about Yushan wanting to take revenge on Lin Yi. That's true. Qibing was also a cruel person. After listening to old Zhao's words, he nodded in agreement. Chapter 2678. Elder Mian, go spread the news as soon as possible. Elder Zhao said to Elder Mian, yes, I'll go spread the news now. Elder Mian nodded. At this time, Lin Yi had brought Yu Ning to the foot of the mountain where the Hidden House Yu was located. At this time, it was impossible for Lin Yi to sneak up, as he was stopped by a few Earth-class masters. Usually, these Earth-class disciples wouldn't appear unless there was a major event. They were all training hard, but today, Yu Ning went missing. They were also sent to the foot of the mountain to search for emergencies. That was when they saw Lin Yi. Who is it? Get off the spirit beast and let us inspect it. The leading disciple, Yu Ba, scolded. Lin Yi didn't drive or ride a horse, so he didn't know what to say. Lin Yi obediently let Feng stop. In fact, with Lin Yi's skills, these people weren't his opponents at all. Even if they forced their way in, they wouldn't be able to stop the purple thunderbolt beast speed. But since they were in the Hidden House Yu, Lin Yi had to give Yu Ning some face, or else he'd embarrass her. Miss Yu Ning, Yu Ba finally saw the person behind Lin Yi on the spirit beast. It was Yu Ning they were looking for. Yu Ba was shocked and quickly pressed the pager in his hand. I'm Yu Ba. I've found Miss Yu Ning. She's riding a spiritual beast with a stranger at the foot of the mountain. I'm calling for backup. Yu Ba, no need to call for backup. Just let us go up, Yu Ning said. Yu Ba hesitated. If it was just Yu Ning, he'd let her go up without a second thought, but Yu Ning was with someone else, and there was a mystic class late phase peak. He didn't know how strong this spirit beast was, so he didn't dare act rashly. But while Yu Ba was hesitating, old Yu had already brought Yu Shaoqin to the foot of the mountain. One of them was at the peak of the early phase of the heaven realm, while the other was at the peak of the late phase of the earth realm. Their speed was very fast, and they were in their own territory, so they quickly reached the foot of the mountain. Linny, old ancestor Yu was excited when he saw Yu Ning, but he was shocked when he saw Lin Yi. Isn't Lin Yi in East Ocean City? He'd already called Yushu and Tiger Right Hand to confirm it. Lin Yi definitely didn't come to kidnap Yu Ning. Why did Lin Yi come back with Yu Ning? He came all the way from Donghai City. Old ancestor Yu was even more shocked when he saw the purple lightning beast under Lin Yi. Of course, he wasn't unfamiliar with this purple lightning beast. He had seen it at the Hidden House Summit, but at that time, the purple lightning beast was only at the peak late phase of the golden class. How did it become a mystic late phase peak in just a few days? Thinking back to how fast the purple lightning beast was, it must be even faster after leveling up. It made sense that Lin Yi could come here in such a short amount of time. Elder Yu, how have you been? Lin Yi looked at old ancestor Yu. He said faintly, but his attitude wasn't respectful at all. He didn't get off his beast, and it didn't seem like a junior meeting an elder at all. Old Ancestor, you heard Lin Yi's nonchalant question, and suddenly realized that Lin Yi was no longer the same Lin Yi of the past. His mount was a mystic late phase peak, and his own strength was something that Old Ancestor you couldn't underestimate. He couldn't underestimate a Sky class master at the peak of the mid-phase of the Earth class. To be able to kill a Sky class with the strength of an Earth class mid-phase peak, there was no way House Yu's Old Ancestor wouldn't be surprised, especially when he heard that even the vice president of the Cultivator Trading Association and the Hidden Right family's Heaven Stage expert called him senior. What else could the Old Ancestor of House Yu do? However, in front of Yuning, he naturally couldn't call Lin Yi as senior. He only said politely, "So it's young hero Lin. My hidden House Yu is honored by your presence. What a rare guest." "Haha, you're too kind, Elder Yu." Lin Yi smiled. Yuning looked at her grandfather in shock, and then looked at Lin Yi. Lin Yi really didn't lie. He came here, and it seemed that her grandfather didn't dare to make him stay, but he was also very polite. Was Lin Yi already the strong? "Young hero Lin, how did my granddaughter come back with you?" Elder Yu narrowed his eyes and looked at Yuning, who was hugging Lin Yi. He wanted to say something, but he didn't. "Oh, Zhao Qibing kidnapped her, and I happened to save her." Lin Yi said it very simply, but Old Ancestor Yu knew that it wasn't that simple. Let's not talk about how Lin Yi knew that Yuning was kidnapped. Just the fact that Lin Yi was able to find Yuning so accurately was already very strange. However, Old Ancestor, you didn't dare to ask too much. After all, if Lin Yi didn't want to say it, no one could force him to. "I see. Thank you, young hero Lin, for saving us. You even sent her to my doorstep. I'm honored. In this hidden house, there aren't many people that young hero Lin would voluntarily help." Old Ancestor, you said politely, "What's wrong, Elder Yu? You're not going to invite me up?" Lin Yi asked. "Haha, look at me. I was so busy talking that I forgot." Old Ancestor, you laughed. "Actually, if young hero Lin wants to come up, no one can stop you. Please, young hero Lin." "Feng, let's go," Lin Yi said to the purple thunderbolt beast. The purple thunderbolt beast slowly walked up the mountain. Yuning, who was sitting behind Lin Yi, wanted to come down, but the purple thunderbolt beast was already gone. She could only sit behind Lin Yi with a red face and hug Lin Yi. Old Ancestor Yu's face changed slightly, but he didn't say anything. He didn't want to anger Lin Yi. This kid was hard to say. He might kill someone. Old Ancestor Yu felt that he might not be killed by Lin Yi with his Sky class early phase peak strength, but the others couldn't. Yu Xiaoqin and the others weren't even worth one move. Elder Bai of the Hidden House Xiao wasn't Lin Yi's opponent at all. They arrived at the living room of the Hidden House Yu. Lin Yi got off the purple thunderbolt beast, and Yuning got off as well. The Old Ancestor of House Yu said, "Young hero Lin, please come in. Yu Xiaoqin, Ning must be in shock. Take her to rest and ask her about Zhao Qibing. This Zhao Qibing sure is bold to do something like this." In fact, Old Ancestor Yu said so much because he wanted Yuning to leave first. He wanted to talk to Lin Yi alone. Chapter 2679. Yuning looked at Lin Yi, a little reluctant, but she misunderstood her grandpa's politeness towards Lin Yi. She thought that her situation had turned for the better, and so she didn't insist. She looked at Lin Yi affectionately and left with Yu Xiaoqin. "Young hero Lin, please come in." Old Ancestor Yu waited for Yuning to leave before making a welcoming gesture to Lin Yi. "Elder Yu, you sent Yuning away because you have something to say to me, right? If you have something to say, just say it. There's no need to be polite." Lin Yi saw through Old Yu's intention and didn't beat around the bush. "Young hero Lin is indeed straightforward. I'll speak the truth, then." Old Ancestor Yu nodded. "Young hero Lin, thank you for saving her this time." If it wasn't for you, that bastard Xiao Qibing would have already. I said, I just happened to be there. Linny waved his hand. No, you, the hidden house you, and you Ning were willing to help for no reason. I'm very grateful. And as a token of gratitude, I decided to give you some treasures as a reward. Old ancestor, you said. No reason. Lin Yi frowned slightly and looked at Elder Yu. Yes, so naturally we can't let young hero Lin help us for no reason. We will compensate you. Old ancestor, you nodded. We, the hidden house you, can't owe you a favor. Elder Yu, what do you mean by this? Yu Ning and I are considered old friends, right? I'm sure Elder Yu knows about this, right? Lin Yi understood what old ancestor Yu was saying. He was trying his best to distance himself from Lin Yi. He didn't want to link this rescue with Yu Ning. He just wanted Lin Yi to be his benefactor. Young hero Lin, I actually have my own difficulties. There are some things that you don't know, and even Xiao Ning doesn't know. But since things have come to this point, I'm afraid that I won't be able to help you. I won't hide it then. I'll tell you the truth. The situation is like this. Although I can see what's going on between you and Ning, there are some things that I can't decide. Old ancestor, you changed the topic and started playing the emotional card. What do you mean? Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat as he looked at Elder Yu. When Xiaoning was young, she's already engaged to an ancient sect. Elder Yu said, this marriage is something that our hidden house you values very much, and so does the other sect. So, please understand, young hero Lin, although you're already very strong, able to kill Sky class masters in one hit, I know that I'm not your opponent. But can you instantly kill a peak late stage heaven realm expert? And not just one? So, young hero Lin, I hope that you can control yourself. Don't cause trouble for our hidden house you, and don't cause trouble for yourself. The ancient sect isn't something that you can mess with and fight against. Lin Yi was a little shocked after hearing Elder Yu's words. He looked at Elder Yu in shock. Although he didn't fully believe it, it explained why the other hidden houses were trying to get close to Lin Yi. Only the hidden house you didn't do this. It seemed like they had found another sect, an ancient sect, yet another ancient sect. Lin Yi took a deep breath. With his current strength, he naturally wasn't a match for the ancient sections. However, since he had made up his mind to face Yu Ning's matter, he didn't want to give up so easily. I've told the common house you that they owe me 2 wives, now that the common house you is gone. As the support of the common house you, the hidden house you, I'll naturally put this on your head. Lin Yi said faintly, Yu Ning, it's 1. It seems like you're still missing 1? Young hero Lin, you must be joking. Elder Yu's heart skipped a beat, but he still maintained his composure. Our hidden house, you only has 1 granddaughter, Yu Ning, and she's already engaged. Naturally, we can't give you 2 wives. Ha! Is that so? Lin Yi smiled. An ancient sect? Huh? I know which ancient sect it is. I won't ask now, but before Yu Ning gets married, I hope you can tell me. I'll ask her myself if this is her wish. That's not a problem. Elder Yu thought about it and nodded. The current Lin Yi wasn't someone he could mess with. Although Yu Ning's engagement was something he made up on the spot, the truth wasn't far from the truth. Elder Yu didn't feel embarrassed for lying. If that's the case, then I'll leave now. Lin Yi said faintly. Since Elder Yu doesn't want to interact with me too much and only treats me as an outsider, there's no reason for me to stay. See you later. Young hero Lin, as a thank you, I'll give you some treasures you need. What do you want? Elder Yu asked. Oh, do you have any of the colored steel, pure yellow jade, or blue crystal powder? Lin Yi asked. Oh, I do have some colored steel, but I don't have anything else. Young hero Lin, you only want colored steel? Elder Yu was curious why Lin Yi wanted this stuff. It wasn't anything useful. Yes, Lin Yi nodded. All right, old ancestor, you didn't ask any more questions. He waved his hand at Yuba. Yuba, go find Yu Yi and tell him to bring the colored steel from his house. Yes, Elder. Yuba nodded and went to do it. After a while, Yu came back with a small box in his hand. It must be the colored steel. Old ancestor, you took it and passed it to Lin E. Young hero Lin. Do you see if this is it? Lin E opened the box and saw that it was indeed a colored steel. It was even bigger than the one he got from the hidden house Han. This surprised Lin E. Although Yu Ning's engagement made him depressed, this colored steel was a pleasant surprise. All right, this is it. I'll accept it then. Lin E accepted the colored steel without hesitation. Since Elder Yu was trying his best to cut ties with Lin E, there was no need for Lin E to build a relationship with him. Lin E could see that everything was fake. Only strength mattered. As long as he had strength, everything was negotiable. Without strength, everything was just empty talk. In the past, when Lin E didn't have the strength to kill Sky Class, would Elder Yu talk to him so politely? Obviously not. Throwing him out was already being merciful. Who knew he might even use this chance to kill him? Chapter 2680. But now, Elder Yu didn't dare to do that. Although he still didn't get close to Lin E, it was obvious that he respected Lin E a lot more, and he even gave him a gift. This was a change in attitude. Of course, this is what young hero Lin deserves. Old ancestor Yu smiled. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. It seems like Elder Yu doesn't want me to stay for supper. With that, Lin E walked towards the door, and Elder Yu didn't stop him. The relationship between the two was limited to mere politeness. Lin E walked out of the living room and got on the purple thunder beast. He looked at the hidden house, used Castle 1 last time, and took a deep breath. He vowed to himself that he would return to this place again. He patted the purple thunder beast's shoulder and said, "Fong, let's go back." One man and one beast left. Elder Yu frowned. He didn't know if what happened today was a blessing or a curse. His relationship with Lin E improved, and Elder Yu didn't have to worry anymore. These days, he heard that Lin Yi's strength had skyrocketed, and he was afraid that the hidden house Yu would go against Lin E. But now Lin E took Kai Gang, and the two wouldn't go against each other so easily. What worried Elder Yu was Yu Ning. After Lin E heard about the ancient sect's marriage, he left temporarily, but Elder Yu could see that Lin E wouldn't give up easily. He was just enduring it for now. So Elder Yu was worried. Would there be trouble in the future? Although he told Lin E about the pros and cons, if Lin E had enough strength, then the situation wouldn't be something Elder Yu could control. With that thought, Elder Yu couldn't help but sigh. He spoke to Yu E. Gather all the members for supper. I have something to say. Okay. Yu E froze. House Yu's old ancestor never gathered his family for supper, and even if he wasn't here, the hidden house Yu wouldn't sit together for supper like this. Whoever was hungry would go to the dining room to eat. But there was something important today, so Yu E quickly went to the dining room. Yu Ning was the happiest. After she returned to her room, Xiaochen only asked about what happened and didn't say much. Towards Yu Ning's admiration and respect for Lin E, he didn't show any displeasure or displeasure. And now, Elder Yu was gathering the whole family for supper again. Obviously, there was something important. In Yu Ning's mind, it might be a special supper for Lin E. Otherwise, there was no need to hold a family supper in the middle of the night. Yu Ning happily held her little spirit beast and went to the dinner party. Lin E seemed to be very knowledgeable about spirit beasts, so Yu Ning planned to let him take a look at what happened to her spirit beast. Why was it injured? She wanted to see if he could do anything. Yu Shan. This time, he was also sent to the dining room by Yu Ba, although the hidden house Yu was in a mess. Lin E rode his spirit beast to visit again, but Yu Shan didn't know about it. He was isolated in his room and couldn't get any information. He was suddenly invited to dinner, and it was strange. Was it a blessing or a curse? However, when he saw the intact Yu Ning appear in the banquet hall with the spirit beast, his heart sank. Yu Ning was fine. Didn't that mean that Zhao Qibing was in trouble? Thinking that Zhao Qibing might not have succeeded, Yushan was filled with hatred. What a useless thing. He'd already taken the person away, and he still didn't succeed. Could he be a eunuch? He wasn't wrong. Zhao Qibing had really become a eunuch. At the same time, Yu Shaochen received news from the hidden house Zhao, and he was furious. Although there were some excuses for Zhao Qibing, but if what the hidden house Zhao said was true, then he was even more furious at Yu Shan. Yu Shaochen was suspicious of him, and now it seemed that if he wasn't a spy, Zhao Qibing wouldn't be able to complete the plan. But Yu Shaochen didn't get angry right away. He sat in his seat with a dark face, waiting for the old man to arrive. Yu Shan's face was also very ugly. Yu Shan's father, Yu Xiaozhong, also felt that something was wrong. He wanted to ask Yu Shan something, but he didn't dare to speak. He could only wait anxiously for the dinner to start. Not long after, Yu Xing, the old man of House Yu, came to the dining room and sat in the main seat. He also got the news from Yu Yi that Yu Shan was a traitor. Grandpa, where's Lin Yi? Yu Ning didn't feel that something was wrong with the atmosphere. She was immersed in the happiness of reuniting with Lin Yi, and now that her grandpa came and Lin Yi wasn't here, she felt that it was strange. Lin Yi has left, the old man said faintly. Old ancestor, you said faintly, don't think about him anymore. You and him are from two different worlds. I've talked to him, and he has his own girlfriend. You're just a normal friend. Don't think too much about it. Ah, that's impossible. Yu Ning was shocked after listening to her grandpa's words. When she was in the hotel room, she could clearly feel Lin Yi's feelings for her. When they held hands, she could also feel Lin Yi's feelings for her. How could she treat him as an ordinary friend? Grandpa didn't agree. That's why he was talking nonsense. Yu Ning felt very angry and wronged. Why did Grandpa still not agree to the relationship between her and Lin Yi? Grandpa was already treating Lin Yi with a lot of respect. What was wrong with all this? Nothing is impossible. The old man waved his hand. Old ancestor, you waved his hand. Ning, I'll talk to you about you and Lin Yi alone after the meal. We need to talk about something else now. Oh, okay. Yu Ning nodded and sat there with the beast in her arms. She didn't have the appetite to eat anymore. Although the hidden house Yu's dinner was very sumptuous at this moment, no one had the appetite to eat, especially Yu Xiaozhong and Yu Shan. Both of their foreheads were sweating. Yu Shan, you've done well, haven't you? Colluding with Zhao Qibing to kidnap your sister? Are you still a part of House Yu? Old ancestor, you changed the topic and looked at Yu Shan, his tone sharp. Yu Shan heard the old man's question and knew that his plan was exposed. It was futile to try to escape now. Zhao Qibing had probably confessed, and there was no point in hiding anymore. His psychological defense was broken, and he knew that things weren't going well. Chapter 2681. Father, is there some kind of misunderstanding? Xiaozhong was shocked and quickly tried to explain for his son. Yu Shan is a cripple. How could he do something like this? Cripple? It's because he's a cripple that he's holding grudges, right? Elder Yu said faintly. Yui, play the hidden Elder Mion's phone number for them. Yes. After Rain heard it, she took out a recording pen and began to play the phone recording inside. Qibing has confessed. Yu Shan hated Lin Yi, so he set this up. Elder Mion's voice came from the recording pen. Impossible. That's impossible. Zhao Qibing doesn't know about Yu Ning and Lin Yi. Yu Shan screamed. And it wasn't me who set this up. It was him. He told me to do it. I have a recording here too. I've saved the evidence. Yu Shan, Yu Xiaozhong heard Yu Shan's words. It didn't matter if Yu Shan had set it up or not. He was definitely a partaker in it. He was an accomplice in this kidnapping case, and Yu Shan really wasn't going to escape this time. Yu Ba, take him away. I don't want to see him again. Elder Yu didn't ask about the details and waved his hand, letting Yu Ba take Yu Shan away. It was enough as long as Yushan was involved. It didn't matter if it was Zhao Qibing's idea or Yushan's. Put him under house arrest first. Feed the servants leftovers every day, as long as he doesn't starve to death. Yes, Yuban nodded. Yushan was taken away, and he wasn't willing to accept it. If it was done, Lin Yi would cry, and House Yu would fall, and he wouldn't care. Even if he died, it would be a worthy death. But now he wasn't willing. Yu Xiaozhong's face was ashen. He sat there in silence. You guys eat. I don't feel like eating anymore. I came here to tell you this news, Yu Xiaozhong. You don't have to be responsible for the family's affairs anymore. Just focus on your training. Elder Yu waved his hand and said faintly, Yes, Father. Xiaozhong knew that his position in House Yu was finished, and it was already good enough that he could keep his training resources. He could only sigh. It seemed like his bloodline would not have any chance of competing in the future. Yu Ning, come with me, Old Ancestor Yu said as he stood up. Oh. Yu Ning followed Old Ancestor Yu out of the banquet hall and went to a small room on the side. Ning, sit. Elder Yu gestured for her to sit. I'll tell you about Lin Yi. And Yu Ning nodded and looked at Elder Yu expectantly. You and Lin Yi, I think you know that it's impossible. Let's not talk about your future first. He was going to walk an unusual path. Even now, Lin Yi already has several wives. Do you still want to join in the fun? House Yu's old ancestor wanted to use this conversation to completely cut off the relationship between Yu Ning and Lin Yi. He understood that it was better to let it go than to block it, and now he couldn't block it anymore. With Lin Yi's strength, he couldn't do anything to him anymore. Grandpa, don't you have several wives as well? What's wrong with that? Yu Ning blinked and asked curiously, Cough, cough, cough. Old Ancestor Yu remembered that Yu Ning had lived in the hidden House Yu since she was young. Other than training, she never left the house. She heard and saw everything in the hidden House Yu. So she wouldn't care about this. He was wrong, but he still said, Oh, even if it's nothing, you should know that for the big plan in the future, you have to keep your virginity. Otherwise, it will bring disaster to the hidden House Yu. Moreover, this isn't a good thing for Lin Yi. The current Lin Yi, although he can look down on the hidden houses, is definitely not the opponent of the big plan. If he goes against the people from that place, it will be a dead end. You don't want to harm others and yourself and let Lin Yi and that place become enemies, right? Yu Ning was silent, although she didn't know the details of the future plan. Because of her own future, she knew some of it. The one who made this plan was a powerful sect, even more powerful than the ancient sections. This was also the reason why the hidden House Yu had developed so fast in these years. So what Old Ancestor Yu said might not be completely perfunctory and deceptive. Of course, Yu Ning didn't know that even if it wasn't for her, Lin Yi and that place already had a deep hatred. Even if they didn't provoke Lin Yi, one day Lin Yi would still kill them. So Yu Ning nodded, but she was unwilling. But I can keep some distance from him. I won't cross the last step, but does Lin Yi know? You guys are like firewood and fire. If something unexpected happens, then it's all over. Old Ancestor Yu shook his head and said, Moreover, does that place know? What would they think if they saw it? They will definitely kill Lin Yi to prevent future trouble. Yu Ning was silent again. Yes, what if that place killed Lin Yi indiscriminately? So if you don't want to hurt Lin Yi, then don't have anything to do with him anymore, Old Ancestor Yu said. Oh, after that plan, can I be with him? Yu Ning asked unwillingly. Let's talk about that plan later. We don't know what will happen. Old Ancestor Yu didn't answer the question directly. Okay, I wanted to ask Lin Yi to help me look at this spirit beast. He seems to be very good at raising spirit beasts. Yu Bingbro also said that he could ask Lin Yi for help. Yu Ning raised the spirit beast in her hand and said, Oh. Old Ancestor Yu's eyes flashed a light. He hesitated for a moment, looked at the spirit beast in Lin Yi's arms, estimated the time to start the plan, and then said reluctantly, "Okay, I will invite Lin Yi to be a guest in the near future, but you should not contact him in private." "Okay. Thank you, Grandpa." Yuning listened to her grandpa's words and suddenly became very happy. She thought that she wouldn't be able to see Lin Yi for a long time in the future. Moreover, this time, although Grandpa gave a clear answer to whether or not she could be with Lin Yi after the plan was completed, it meant that there was hope. How could Yuning not be happy? What made Yuning feel strange was that Grandpa didn't seem to care much about his spirit beast's injury before, but this time, why did he suddenly care so much? Chapter 2682. Actually, this was Yuning's misunderstanding. It wasn't that old you didn't care, but it was useless even if he cared. He had no way. This spirit beast was traded from Qianshan sect at a high price. It had been with Yuning since it was young. If there were any problems, old you would know. Even the Qianshan sect, which specialized in raising spirit beasts, couldn't do anything about it. What did old you have to do? He wouldn't waste any more time. But the situation was different this time. Lin Yi was able to kidnap the spirit beast of Qianshan sect, and even increase his strength. There was no way House Yu's old ancestor wouldn't be moved. Maybe Lin Yi really had a way to deal with this. Besides, this spirit beast was very important to Yuning. Old Yu knew it better than anyone. He didn't have a way before, but now he had a way. Even if he had to beg Lin Yi, he could only accept it. It was already midnight when Lin Yi got back to Donghai. He packed up Kai Gang and went to bed. He didn't care about Zhao Qibing and the hidden House Yu at all. It didn't matter much to him whether or not the two families fell out with each other. The next morning, Lin Yi was telling Meng Yao, Yushu, Han Jingjing, and Xin Yan about what happened last night. Lin Yi's phone rang. He picked it up. It was Boss Bai. Lin Yi quickly picked it up. Master Bai, you're looking for me? Lil Yi, I've found some information about your special constitution. Boss Bai sounded very excited. Also, there's news about the solution. Oh, really? That's great. What's the news? Lin Yi was pleasantly surprised as he asked. Ugh, it's just news. Boss Bai smiled bitterly. Aren't you being too anxious? So it's just news. Lin Yi smiled bitterly, feeling that he was too excited. It's good enough that there is news, and the news is very reliable. I only found a bit of news after reading a lot of ancient books that I brought out of the sect. Boss Bai explained. Thank you for your hard work, Teacher Bai. What is this news? Lin Yi said gratefully. Lin Yi, if it's possible, we need to go to Zhang Liju's tomb again. His research in this area should be stored on the bookshelf in his tomb. Bai Boss said, Oh, was this Zhang Liju's research? It's not in the notes. Lin Yi paused, not expecting to have to go to Zhang Liju's tomb. Nope, the notes are only notes about elixir. It's Master Liju's most important book, but a refiner might have multiple notes in their lifetime. For example, notes on strange things. Your constitution belongs to this category, Boss Bai explained. I see. Then this should be done as soon as possible. When are we going? Lin Yi was getting anxious after hearing that there was a way to solve his constitution problem. Any time is fine. This weekend. Then you can make the arrangements and we'll go together, Boss Bai said. All right, I'll make the arrangements. Lin Yi nodded excitedly. What? Something good happened? Why are you so happy? Meng Yao looked at the happy Lin Yi and asked. Lin Yi had been telling her about what happened last night. Although Meng Yao didn't say anything, she was a bit troubled by the fact that Lin Yi suddenly had a first love. Why was there another first love? However, Wang Xinyan didn't say anything. She just listened quietly, as if she didn't show much jealousy towards Yuning's appearance. In fact, Wang Xinyan understood her position very well. She knew that every day she spent with Lin Yi was one day less. If Lin Yi didn't have the ability to fight against the ancient sects, then she would still have to marry Kong Xiaolong. So, this was already a good deal. It wasn't worth it to be jealous because of a first love. Sinyan didn't have that much time to think about these things. Ha! Master Bai has found a way to solve my constitution problem. I might be able to make elixirs in the future. Lin Yi didn't hide anything. He was familiar with everyone here, and Han Xiaoqiao had long since gone back to his car to read after breakfast. He wasn't interested in Lin Yi's adventures at all. He was a complete bookworm. Oh, so that's how it is. Meng Yao nodded. Then I have to congratulate you. Now you can see Xiao Xiao sooner. To be honest, I quite miss her. Xiao Xiao and Meng Yao had been enemies before, but the relationship between the two was very deep. Meng Yao hoped that she could come back soon. But I still have to go to Zhang Liju's tomb. I don't know if I can find a way, or if I can make it happen. Everything is still unknown. Lin Yi shrugged. Although the news was exciting, it was hard to say whether or not the notes were in the tomb. It's always good to have hope, Meng Yao smiled. Yeah, Linny Big Bro is so strong. It'll be fine. Han Jingjing was a firm supporter of Lin Yi. Haha, strong or not, it has nothing to do with whether or not Zhang Liju left the notes. Lin Yi smiled. Anyways, I think it'll be fine, Han Jingjing said. Meng Yao found it strange, sometimes. Just what made Han Jingjing trust Lin Yi so much. Last time, Han Jingjing was on the verge of death, but she still kept Lin Yi's secret. At first, she and Shu suspected that Han Jingjing had some ulterior motive for Lin Yi. But now it seemed that even if she did have ulterior motives, it was enough for Lin Yi to trust her and cherish her. At least, Meng Yao was very willing to let Han Jingjing and Lin Yi be together. This girl had nothing to do with the world, and she worshipped Lin Yi a lot. Meng Yao would be at ease if she was at home. There was no way she'd cause any trouble. After breakfast, the group went to school. After reaching school, Lin Yi planned to call Xiaoka, but the moment the call went through, Lin Yi suddenly remembered his identity. He was Lin Yi, not a male thief. But since the call went through, Lin Yi decided to tease Xiaoka a little. It was rare that Lin Yi was in a good mood today. Hello, Lin Yi? What's up? Xiaoka picked up the phone. Her head hurt, but she couldn't ignore it. She complained in her heart. Hadn't her brother told Lin Yi everything yet? Why was he still calling her? Chapter 2683. Today was May 20th, a holiday that wasn't considered a holiday. At least on 520 and 521 every year, it was a day for lovers to date or finally get married. It was said that on this day, couples would form a long line to register their marriage. Lin Yi had been in Songshan for more than 2 months. He had just recovered from Ma Zhu's injury. Early in the morning, Lin Yi arrived at school, but he realized that today's school was different from the past. On the school field, there were actually students who hung up banners and slogans. Lin Yi took a closer look. It actually wrote, 520, Heartbeat Memories Confession Before Graduation. Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He was about to find someone to ask, but he suddenly raised his head and saw the dean, Wang Jifeng. So Lin Yi quickly waved his hand. Dean Wang, good morning. Are you free? I have something to ask you. Ah, Lin Yi classmate. What's up? Wang Jifeng saw that it was Lin Yi and quickly walked over to ask, what's going on in school? Is there some kind of activity? Lin Yi asked. Oh, today is May 20th, 520, which also means I love you. Every year, when the senior students graduate, they will spontaneously have a pre-graduation confession. This tradition has been going on for many years. At first, it was because of the popularity of a game called Heartbeat Memories. So the students will confess to the boy or girl they have a crush on the eve of graduation. Wang Jifeng explained. Lin Yi transferred here halfway, so it was normal that he didn't know the school's tradition. Oh, if that's the case, then the school doesn't interfere? Lin Yi was a bit surprised. He didn't think that Wang Jifeng would actually not interfere with this kind of student confession activity. It's considered a tradition. Also, this activity only allows graduating students to participate. Non-graduating students are not allowed to participate. Wang Jifeng smiled and said, Student Linny, I'm not an unenlightened person. You should understand that. It's just that I'm strict with the students for their own good. Now that I was about to graduate, there were only a few days left before the college entrance examination. I naturally wouldn't interfere with such an event. After all, holding such an event at this time wouldn't affect my studies. Instead, it would help me relax, to relieve the pressure before the college entrance examination. Whether the confession was successful or not, it was the best memory of a person's life. First love was always unforgettable, and I wouldn't be a sinner in vain. These students will regret it years from now. I see. Lin Yi nodded to show that he understood. Wang Jifeng was not an unenlightened person, or else he would not have found a lover. It seemed that the student's fear of him was misunderstood. Student Lin Yi, you can also participate in this activity. In order to facilitate the smooth progress of this activity, classes will be suspended in the afternoon. There will also be a day off tomorrow. Wang Jifeng said, Tomorrow, there will be a spontaneous traditional activity. Couples who successfully confessed will go on a trip together. Of course, those who didn't succeed, as long as both parties are willing, they can also participate. The school is organizing this for the good of everyone. It's to prevent these couples who have just confessed from doing something unexpected before the college entrance examination. As the dean, my responsibility is to guide the students' views on love and values. Everyone will graduate soon, so I can't say much. I can only guarantee that before the college entrance examination, everyone can behave. Some things can't be rushed. If it affects the college entrance examination, it will be a big deal. As for after the college entrance examination, you will be a university student. Some universities can even get married, so why should I interfere? After listening to Director Wang Jifeng's words, for the first time, Lin Yi felt that this person's image was very tall. Although he had some small shortcomings, he was serious and responsible for teaching students, which made Lin Yi very moved. Director Wang, with a dean like you in the school, no wonder the first senior high school's results have always been among the best. It's really not easy to achieve the results of a private school like this. Wang Jifeng listened to Lin Yi's praise and grinned. It was not easy to make Lin Yi flatter him. Since Lin Yi knew his privacy, there was no need for Lin Yi to flatter him. Therefore, what Lin Yi said at this time must be true. How could Wang Jifeng not be happy? Director Wang, I will talk to Uncle Chu. You are a serious and responsible dean. Lin Yi said, Haha, Lin Yi classmate, thank you very much. Wang Jifeng was overjoyed. This sentence from Lin Yi could very well increase Wang Jifeng's salary. Lin Yi originally wanted to go to the school building, but after thinking about it, he turned around and left the school. He went to a flower shop near the school and ordered a bouquet of flowers. He was going to confess to Tang Yun in the afternoon. Although Lin Yi gave Tang Yun a ring before this kind of confession activity before graduation, Lin Yi still wanted to participate. Wang Jifeng was right. This was a beautiful memory before graduation. Although Lin Yi believed that he and Tang Yun could walk the path of love for the rest of their lives, the more memories the better. However, Lin Yi suddenly remembered that Meng Yao and Shu didn't need Lin Yi to accompany them this morning. They went to school by themselves and picked up Tang Yun. Could it be that they already knew about this 520 heartbeat memory activity before graduation? They were also going to confess to someone else? Lin Yi shook his head. He didn't think that Meng Yao would confess to someone else. There must be something else. In fact, Meng Yao sent Lin Yi away because she didn't want Yushu to say anything. This girl had been nagging Meng Yao for the whole night. Meng Yao couldn't sleep well at all. Yao sis, this is a confession before graduation. If you don't grab this opportunity, you will regret it for the rest of your life. Yushu continued, there is only one chance. If Tang Yun gets it first, we won't have a chance anymore. What do you mean we? If you want to confess, you can do it yourself. Why drag me into it? I already said that I am grateful to Lin Yi, but gratitude doesn't mean that I like him. Meng Yao said, Yao Yao sis, you don't mean what you say. Yu Shu said, whatever you say. It's your mouth anyway, Meng Yao said. Yao Yao sis is guilty. Otherwise, if Shu said anything, you would have torn Shu's mouth apart. Yu Shu said, are you asking for a beating? Meng Yao reached out her hand and pretended to hit Yu Shu. Chapter 2684. You go play with Tang Yun. Don't drag me along, Meng Yao said, troubled. Ah, Yao Yao sis, how did you know I was talking about you? You must have something in your heart. That's why you said it, Yu Shu said, surprised. Tang Yun is here. Meng Yao pointed not far away and said helplessly. Oh. Yu Shu raised her head and saw Tang Yun walking over. She closed her mouth helplessly. Tang Yun, be polite when she's here. You promised me that you will be friends with her, Meng Yao reminded Yu Shu. Okay, I got it. I won't attack her, but it's hard to change if you change your attitude all of a sudden, Yu Shu said. Tang Yun walked over and opened the car door, surprised. She didn't expect Meng Yao to be the driver. And not Lin Yi. Why, it's you guys? Where's Lin Yi? Lin Yi left first today, Shu, and I will pick you up, Meng Yao said. Isn't today the school's traditional confession day? Shu wants to confess to Lin Yi. She wants to ask if you're okay with it. Ah, she wants to confess to Lin Yi? Tang Yun froze. She didn't know how to react to Meng Yao's question. Then why are you telling me? You're Lin Yi's girlfriend, so I need to ask for your opinion. Meng Yao didn't know if the question was for herself or for Shu, but she treated it as a question for Shu. Some things could only come out of her mouth when asked by someone else. This is her freedom. It would be a lie to say that Tang Yun didn't know that Meng Yao and Yu Shu liked Lin Yi. Tang Yun saw how much they cared for Lin Yi when Lin Yi was injured by Ma Zhu. Plus, when Lin Yi wanted to go back to West Star Village, Meng Yao also decided to go with him. If Tang Yun didn't notice anything, she would be too insensitive. She was a girl, and there were some things that she understood more than Lin Yi. Although Meng Yao had always said that she didn't like Lin Yi, Tang Yun felt that even if she didn't like him, she would still have feelings for Lin Yi, and Yu Shu would definitely like Lin Yi. Although she already knew about it, she didn't know how to respond to Meng Yao's words. She was also a traditional girl. How could she accept all of this at once? As a result, she wasn't able to go back to Star West Village with Lin Yi. She was a little disappointed, but at the same time relieved at the same time. After all, Meng Yao and Yu Shu couldn't go back with them. In school, Lin Yi was only Meng Yao's follower and bodyguard, but in what capacity would they be able to stay by Lin Yi's side after returning to Star West Village? They might have been friends at first, but as time went by, they became friends. They would definitely become lovers. Would Tang Yun accept it or not? If they didn't accept it, could they chase them back? Of course not. Tang Yun could only accept it, even though she was mentally prepared. Tang Yun still felt conflicted. All right, Yun, I was just joking with you. Don't take it seriously. However, basically, the third-year students stood separately according to their respective classes. Although there were many people watching the fun, there were still very few who actually went on the stage to confess to the person they liked in front of the whole grade. Chapter 2685. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that the first person to go up was Pin Liang. Yao, on this special day, I confess to you. I like you, and I swear that one day I'll make you my girlfriend. Pin Liang wasn't very cultured, and his declaration of love was very simple. But with his opening, the atmosphere heated up instantly. Unfortunately, Meng Yao didn't go up to give a response. Pin Liang's confession failed. This situation was within Pinliang's expectations. He didn't think that Meng Yao would accept his confession, but he wasn't too sad. He shook his head and walked down from the stage, leaving with Xiaofu. He didn't know what they were going to do, but he didn't have the face to stay after the confession failed. With Pinliang's opening, things got a lot more lively. 3 or 4 more students went up to confess, but only one succeeded. Looking at the girl's eyes, it seemed like the two had been together for a long time, and the confession was just an excuse. But up until now, no girl had come up to confess. It was all boys. Actually, there were girls who had crushes on other boys, but they didn't go up because they were too embarrassed. What was even more unexpected was that the first girl to confess was Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao walked up the stage and picked up the microphone very naturally, not showing any stage fright at all. I know that my confession this time won't work, but I've been waiting for you for a long time, so I've been waiting for you. But in order to be a role model for all the girls, I've decided to be the first. Lin Yi watched as Xiao Xiao went up. His heart tightened. This girl wasn't going to confess to him, was she? If he'd known this would happen, Lin Yi would have confessed to Tang Yun first. It was supposed to be a good thing, but Xiao Xiao's interference changed everything. Xiao Xiao's name was still very famous. The little witch had left for 2 years, but now that she was back, most of the 12th grade students still remembered her. So, whether it was flattery or sincere cheering, everyone cheered. As for me, I'm going to confess to someone today. I'm sure that this person knows that I'm confessing to him. I know that he won't accept my confession on stage. That's why I won't say his name. Xiao Xiao looked in Lin Yi's direction and smiled. All right, my confession is over. Let's continue. With that, Xiao Xiao walked down the stage casually. Xiao Xiao's confession surprised Lin Yi. At the same time, he felt that this was really a strange and smart girl. She didn't say Lin Yi's name on this occasion, but her purpose of confession had been achieved. She didn't want to embarrass herself. It would not bring any trouble to Lin Yi, which made Lin Yi feel that. Xiao Xiao was hard to deal with. He didn't know what this girl was thinking. After Xiao Xiao's confession was over, Lin Yi didn't wait any longer. He walked up to the temporary gymnasium, ready to confess to Tang Yun. Lin Yi had replaced So Ruoming and Pin Liang as the new Big Four, and pretty much everyone knew about Lin Yi and Tang Yun. So, when Lin Yi got on stage, the crowd started chanting Tang Yun's name, helping Lin Yi. Tang Yun's face was very red. She was surprised by Xiao Xiao's confession as well, but Xiao Xiao had obviously left some leeway so that it wouldn't embarrass everyone. Tang Yun had a good impression of Xiao Xiao. Tang Yun got on stage under everyone's chanting, and Lin Yi didn't say anything either. He just handed the heart card and flowers to Tang Yun. All the words he wanted to say were in this card and flowers. Tang Yun blushed as she accepted the card and flowers, but when she picked up the heart card, she was a little surprised. Tang Yun clearly remembered that Yushu bought this card this morning. Wasn't she going to confess to Lin Yi? Why did she give the card to Lin Yi? Could it be that Lin Yi gave it to her? Tang Yun opened the card curiously and saw that it was Lin Yi's handwriting. It was simple, but it tugged at her heartstrings. Can't forget the summer, the shade, the ring, the promise. One short line, but it expressed Lin Yi's heartfelt feelings, as well as Lin Yi's lifelong promise to her. Tang Yun planned to treasure this card forever, put it in a frame, and put it on her bed. But this also proved that this card wasn't a prop for Yushu to confess to Lin Yi. It was a real gift to Lin Yi. There was no meaning to it. Tang Yun looked at Meng Yao and Yushu, a look of gratitude in her eyes. No matter what, she was very satisfied with today's confession event. Both Xiao Xiao and Yushu hadn't messed around, and they hadn't messed around with her. Yushu looked at Tang Yun's figure on stage, a little envious. Yao Yao, it's all your fault. You didn't let me go up there. Otherwise, I confess to Shield Bro. He'd definitely accept it. Keep dreaming. Meng Yao said disdainfully, if he doesn't come up, I'll tell him about how he kissed me and saw me naked. Yushu said, you can tell him if you don't think it's embarrassing. Meng Yao said casually, "Oh, forget it then." Yushu sighed and mumbled to herself, "I'll leave sooner or later anyway. I'm just a passerby. I just want to leave behind a beautiful memory." "What did you say?" Meng Yao didn't hear it clearly, not knowing what Yushu said. "Nothing." Yushu shook her head and sighed. Meng Yao didn't understand what Yushu was talking about, and she didn't know that after a certain amount of time, she, Tang Yun, Xiao Xiao, and Yushu would all leave one by one and reunite with them one by one. This period of high school had turned into a beautiful memory. Recalling it in another time and place, he was filled with emotions. But no one could predict the future, not even Prophet Shu. Otherwise, the four of them confessing to Lin, it would make this memory even more beautiful. The confession event ended satisfactorily without any trouble. Jifeng let out a breath of relief. Tomorrow's event would be the last group activity before graduation, and Jifeng would participate the whole time. He didn't want anything to happen. Chapter 2686. Ha! Xiaoke, I just had nothing better to do, so I called you. Lin Yi really didn't have anything to do this time. It was the male thief who wanted to go to Zhang Liju's tomb, not Lin Yi. Ah, nothing? Xiaoke's face darkened. She was right, Lin Yi really did have feelings for her. Otherwise, why would he call her for nothing? Xiaoke didn't have a good impression of Lin Yi, but Lin Yi wasn't someone who had nothing better to do. Yeah, but I do have something to do. Are you free this Friday night? Lin Yi asked. Huh? This Friday? Xiaoke paused, stunned. Was Lin Yi asking her out? Was he asking her out on a date? Going out for dinner? What was meant to come had finally come. I have some ideas for the future of the orphanage that I want to talk to you. If you don't want to go, then forget it, Lin Yi said faintly. I'll go. Xiaoke gritted her teeth. Ha, that's fine. I thought you didn't want to build the orphanage anymore. Lin Yi felt that teasing Xiaoke was quite interesting, especially after having two identities. Lin Yi had a weird sense of humor when Xiaoke flipped out, but for dinner, I'm a big eater, so I won't go if I don't have enough to eat. Let's get this straight. How much are you going to pay me? Xiaoke asked. 1,000. That should be enough, right? Lin Yi didn't expect Xiaoke to say this, but he answered anyway. 1,800. That's not enough. It's not even enough to fill my teeth. It's at least 18,000. Is that okay? Xiaoke asked back. Lin Yi was speechless. 1,000 became 18,000, but Lin Yi didn't mind it too much. He nodded. All right, 18,000 is fine. See you this weekend. Xiaoke hung up the phone and sighed helplessly. What should she do now? What should he do? Should I make it clear to Lin Yi then? But what if Lin Yi stopped building the orphanage out of anger? But if he didn't make it clear, could it be that he had to submit to Lin Yi? If that happened, Xiaoke wouldn't feel good about it. What about the male thief? Xiaoke was in a dilemma. But just as Xiaoke was in a dilemma, her phone rang again. She thought it was still Lin Yi, but when she picked it up, she realized that it was an unfamiliar number. Xiaoke picked up the phone, confused. Hello. Is that the flying sparrow heroine? Lin Yi pretended to be the male thief's voice. He used the school's public phone to make the call. Since he was pretending to be the male thief, he naturally couldn't use his phone number. Ah, you're a male thief? Xiaoke heard the voice and the way he addressed her. She immediately realized that the caller was a male thief. She was extremely excited. Male thief, it really is you? I've missed you so much. You finally called me. Lin Yi didn't know what to say from Xiaoke's sudden change in attitude. Wasn't this change a little too fast? After calming himself down, Lin Yi said, It's me, male thief. Why are you looking for me? Xiaoke asked. Or, do you miss me? Why don't you call me? It's like this, I want to go to Zhang Liju's tomb again to get something. Do you have time? Do you want to go with me? Lin Yi asked. Yeah, I'll go with you. Xiaoka didn't even think about it before agreeing to go on a date with Lin Yi. Her gloomy mood was swept away. All right, let's go this Friday night. We'll go together. Lin Yi said, All right, what? Friday night? Xiaoka paused. She remembered that Lin Yi asked her out, and her heart skipped a beat. Why did Lin Yi have to ask her out now? Of all the times, why did he have to ask her out now? It was the same time as the male thieves. What's wrong? Do you have something to do? Lin Yi pretended to be surprised. Oh, nothing. It's just that a friend asked me out for dinner. It's also Friday. Xiaoka didn't want to lie to the male thief, so she told him the truth. Friend asked you out for dinner? Boyfriend? Lin Yi purposely asked. If you don't have time, then. Don't, never mind. He's not my boyfriend. He's just one of my pursuers. Xiaoka quickly said. But I don't like him anymore. Oh, I didn't say never mind. What I meant was, why don't you eat first and we can leave after dinner? Lin Yi said. But if you don't like him, why are you still going out with him? Wasn't it because I had no other choice? Xiaoka said gloomily. He's the biggest donor to the orphanage. At first, I thought that he just wanted to help the orphanage. And that's what he said. But later, he seemed to be interested in me, and I was afraid that he wouldn't continue donating to the orphanage, so I could only agree to his request to have a meal with me. I see. But, Xiaoka, to be honest, you should consider it. He must really like you if he keeps donating to you. He's someone who cares about you. I think you'll be happy if you're with him, right? Lin, he said, trying to sound like a gentleman. But I only like you. Xiaoka said. If I didn't know you, I might consider it, but now I really don't want to be with anyone else. Xiaoka said. Don't worry, I'm actually tricking him. I asked him to give me 18,000 to treat me to a meal, and I'll treat him to a roadside stall after I get the money. And then I'll take the rest. I see. Lin Yi sweated as he listened to Xiaoka's evil laughter. This girl wanted to trick him. And now she told him, that's right, that's right. Then I'll look for you after the meal. Call me halfway, and I'll find an excuse to leave. How's that? Xiaoka asked. Call you? Lin Yi thought, I'm eating with you. How can I call you? I don't have a phone, and it's troublesome to call you, so why don't you find an excuse yourself? I see. That's fine. I'll think of something. If he doesn't let me go, I'll keep tricking him, and when he runs out of money, he'll let me go. Xiaoka said. Chapter 2687. Tang Yuqi's invitation, however. Lin Yi didn't think much of it. Wasn't it more interesting this way? If Xiaoka fell in love with Lin Yi, it would be a very difficult challenge. Lin Yi felt that it was a good game. To be honest, Lin Yi quite liked Xiaoka, and he didn't want her to continue like this. This girl would do anything for the children in the orphanage, and she even did some dangerous things. Lin Yi was afraid that she would die if she wasn't careful. All right, it's settled then. I'll wait for you at the entrance of the orphanage. Whoever gets there first will wait for each other, Lin Yi said. Okay, I'll see you there. Xiaoka said happily. Okay, see you there. Lin Yi shook his head and hung up. On the other side, after confirming the time with Xiaoka, Lin Yi called Boss Bai and told him that they would leave on Friday night. He told Boss Bai to prepare in advance. Boss Bai was fine with it as well. Ling Shan received another call from Tang Yuqi. Ling Shan had been playing along with Tang Yuqi, secretly observing his character, but Tang Yuqi wasn't a normal person. He was a detective, and he'd already noticed that Ling Shan was hiding something from him. Because Tang Yuqi was a detective, he didn't act rashly. He used the care and patience of a detective and decided to become friends with Ling Shan first, and then slowly find out the truth. Miss Song, are you free tonight? I'd like to treat you to dinner to thank you for your help all this time. Although I haven't heard anything from my second uncle, I'm very grateful that you've been helping me ask around, Tang Yuqi said. Ling Shan hesitated. Tang Yuqi's words were so dignified that she couldn't reject him. Miss Song, you won't reject me, right? Tang Yuqi smiled. All right then. Ling Shan actually wanted to observe Tang Yuqi's character and understand his true intentions and background, so she agreed. After all, Tang Yun's matter wasn't a small matter. She couldn't just tell Tang Yuqi about it. The dinner was arranged at a Western restaurant near the police station. Western food was synonymous with romance here, and most of the people who went there were couples. Ling Shan and Tang Yuqi eating at a place like this would cause a lot of misunderstandings. Ling Shan wanted to refuse, but Tang Yuqi was a Westerner who had just returned from overseas, and eating Western food would be as normal as eating at home. So Ling Shan agreed. During dinner, the two only talked about Tang Yuqi's family. Ling Shan didn't mention anything about Tang Yun and Tang Juqing, but Tang Yuqi wasn't in a rush to ask. It was as if he was expressing his gratitude to Ling Shan, and this made Ling Shan sigh in relief. But through this dinner, Ling Shan realized that Tang Yuqi wasn't a bad person. She didn't know if he was just acting or not. Ling Shan wouldn't open her mouth before she had a proper understanding of the situation. Time flew, and it was Friday night. Lin Yi carried a big backpack and went to Songshan in Boss Bai's car. Lin Yi didn't drive. If he did, it would be easy for Xiaoka to see through him. Boss Bai had a car as well, so he got in Boss Bai's car. In his backpack, Lin Yi had the Skybolt pig and Thousand Silk mask. He didn't bring the male thief's mask. There was no need for it. I'll go visit her grandpa with Xin later. You go eat first. Call me when you're done, Boss Bai said to Lin Yi. All right. Lin Yi nodded. Lin Yi, be careful. Guan Xin heard that Lin Yi and Boss Bai were going to the tomb. She couldn't help but feel nervous. Lin Yi had been there once before, but she knew how dangerous the tomb was. She was worried because of the lingering fear. It's fine. This time is different from last time with experience, and with Skybolt Pig it shouldn't be a problem. Lin Yi, on the other hand, had quite a lot of confidence. In fact, the second time he went to the tomb, it was because he met Skybolt Pig that the journey was very smooth. After all, Skybolt Pig's familiarity with the tomb far exceeded Lin Yi and Xiaoka's. That's good. Guan Xin let out a breath of relief. She was a little envious of Xiaoka. She could go on an adventure with Lin Yi, while she could only stand at a distance and watch Lin Yi. Guan Xin didn't ask for much, but she still hoped that she could become someone who could help Lin Yi, someone who could be useful to Lin Yi. Guan Xin swore to herself that she'd learn alchemy and help Lin Yi in the future. She'd become someone useful to Lin Yi. Otherwise, there'd be too many pretty girls around Lin Yi who'd only have pretty faces around him. Mr. Bai, have you thought about what I told you last time? Lin Yi asked. You're talking about recovery? Boss Bai immediately understood what Lin Yi was talking about. Yes, that's right. Lin Yi said, if you want to recover, there's no time like the present. Let's do it before we enter the tomb. I've thought about it. If it's possible, I naturally want to recover. But wouldn't that be a burden to you? Boss Bai hesitated for a moment and asked, I know that the spiritual energy of a cultivator is not for nothing. It is cultivated through hard work. I know that better than you. I'm afraid that it takes a lot of spiritual energy to heal someone. You've just treated Jing Jing. Do you still have the energy to care about me? Plus, we're going to explore the tomb soon. Wouldn't that affect the plan? That won't happen. Lin Yi shook his head. We're all on the same side here. And I'll be honest with you. I can help you recover, and even recover your strength, but because of my level restriction, I can only restore your strength to Mystic Late Phase Peak. Eat a small Qi gathering pill, and you'll be able to reach Earth Class Early Phase, but you'll be stuck there for the time being. Oh, what do you mean? Boss Bai was briefly stunned. Then he said, are you suggesting that you can help me improve my capability to the peak of the late phase of the Mystic Class? After I take a minor Qi gathering pill and become an Earth Class expert, I won't be able to level up again? You could say that. Unless you have a Qi gathering pill, Linny said. Chapter 2688. Use Xiaoka's treat, that's right. That's it. Maybe when I become a sky class, I can raise your strength to earth class late phase peak. Linny said, that's a drawback. If you don't agree, then I can only heal your injuries and you can train on your own. That way, you won't be restricted. Train on my own? Boss Bai smiled bitterly after hearing Lin Yi's words. You don't think that my training on my own will be faster than you helping me, do you? When you become a sky class, I probably won't even be able to step into the mystic class. Compared to the earth class late phase peak, it's naturally easier for you to help me. But you used to be a heaven class late phase peak, right? Linny didn't even need to ask to know that Boss Bai must have been a sky class late phase peak master. Otherwise, how could Boss Bai not be a sky class late phase peak master if even his disciples were sky class late phase peak masters? Boss Bai was the head of the 5 Elements sect. You're right, but you have to figure out how I got my heaven rank late stage strength. First of all, that place is rich in spiritual energy, and there are countless treasures. There are all kinds of elixirs and cultivation resources. Naturally, the speed at which I improve my strength is not the same as now. Boss Bai explained, back then, my training could be said to be 1,000 miles a day, but now it's not bad to be able to reach 1 mile 1,000 days. There's no comparison at all. That's true. Lin Yi nodded. He had forgotten about this before. Boss Bai was no different from a solo cultivator now. If he trained on his own, there wouldn't be any effect at all. And in that place, thinking about how Little One and Little 11 didn't even care about the energy stones in Sun Jingyi's hands, just how rich were the training resources in their sect. Although the energy in that energy stone was almost used up if it were any other cultivator, they wouldn't let it go, right? But in the eyes of Little One and Little 11, it was just trash. So, if possible, please help me and Xin to improve our strength. If Xin cultivates with me, she won't be able to achieve much in her life, unless… Boss Bai paused and did not continue. You're right. You're right. You're right. What's wrong? Lin Yi was slightly taken aback. Nothing. Boss Bai shook his head. There are some things that you'd better not know for now. Lin Yi nodded and didn't ask any questions. That's right. That's my plan for Guan Xian. I'm going to raise her strength all the way until she's the same as Jing. As for you, if you've made up your mind, then there's no problem. I'll raise your strength first tonight. Thanks a lot. Although Boss Bai had guessed the result, he was still thrilled that Lin Yi agreed in person. You don't have to thank me. You and I are master and disciple, and the disciple will do his best to heal his injuries. Plus, you're going to risk your life for the tomb because of my constitution? Lin Yi smiled and waved his hand. Then I won't say thank you. Actually, apart from helping you, I also want to go to the ancient tomb to take a look. After all, this is the ancient tomb of our 5 Elements sect's founder. Boss Bai said. As they spoke, the car arrived at Guan Shuamin's villa area. Lin Yi followed Boss Bai and Guan Xian out of the car. Lin Yi wanted to visit Guan Shuamin first before going to find Xiaoka. Guan Shuamin was very excited when he found out that Lin Yi, his granddaughter, and his old friend were coming today. He was waiting at the entrance of the villa, and when he saw Boss Bai's car, he went up immediately. Old Bai, Lil Yi, Xin, you're back, Guan Shuamin said. Grandpa. Guan Xian hadn't seen her grandpa for a long time. She missed him very much. Xin, how was it? Were you obedient in Grandpa Bai's house? Guan Shuamin asked with a smile. Grandpa and granddaughter met, old friend met, and it was a happy and harmonious reunion. Lin Yi didn't stay for dinner because he had a date with Xiaoka. Lin Yi carried his backpack and left the villa. He didn't drive but walked to the orphanage. On the way, Lin Yi called Xiaoka. Xiaoka was in a state of restlessness today. She was a little afraid that Lin Yi would call, but Lin Yi finally called. Hello? Xiaoka saw the caller ID of Lin Yi and sighed in her heart. She picked up the phone. Xiaoka, it's me. Lin Yi said, I'm at the entrance of the orphanage now. Where are you? I'll go out then. Xiaoka answered helplessly. She thought to herself, if it's a blessing, it's not a curse. Okay. Lin Yi nodded with a smile. After a while, Xiaoka walked out of the orphanage and saw Lin Yi standing there with his backpack. Xiaoka felt strange. Why didn't Lin Yi drive his car here? Xiaoka, you're so pretty. Lin Yi looked at Xiaoka. She had obviously dressed up today, but Lin Yi knew that she was dressing up to give herself another identity. It wasn't the current Lin Yi. Oh, Xiaoka replied faintly. Lin Yi guessed right, Xiaoka was dressing up for the male thief. After eating with Lin Yi, she probably wouldn't have time to dress up, so she had to dress up beforehand. I'm not dressing up for you. Haha, Lin Yi didn't mind at all. Lin Yi knew the truth naturally. He wouldn't argue with Xiaoka about it. What Xiaoka didn't know was that Lin Yi was laughing at her sarcasm. Just how thick was this guy's skin? Where's the money? Xiaoka couldn't be bothered to argue with Lin Yi. She reached out her hand. Lin Yi smiled and took out 2 stacks of money from his pocket. He was about to count out 20 bills from one of the stacks and give the rest to Xiaoka, but Xiaoka snatched it away from him. What are you doing? Lin Yi asked. No need to count. Keep the change. Xiaoka didn't wait for Lin Yi to reply. Didn't you want to treat me to a meal? Let's go. I'll take you there. Oh, okay. Lin Yi nodded and followed behind Xiaoka. The two turned here and there and came to a small alley. It was a food street in Donghai City. There were all sorts of snacks on the street, and it was very lively. Chapter 2689. What's in the bag? Noodles? Can you eat 18,000? Lin Yi had guessed Xiaoka's intentions, but he was still speechless when she brought him here to eat shaved noodles that cost a few yuan a bowl. I didn't say I'd finish it today. I'll eat the rest tomorrow, and the day after. I'll finish it sooner or later if I eat it every day, month after month, Xiaoka said nonchalantly. And waved at the boss. Boss, give me 2 big bowls of knife-shaved noodles. Sure, do you want meat and eggs? The boss asked. No need. Xiaoka shook her head. What about the side dishes? The boss asked. I don't want it either. Xiaoka rejected. I think the side dishes here are pretty good. Why don't we get one? Lin Yi looked at the side dishes. They were pretty good, especially the side dishes. The red oil was very tempting. I don't want it. Then I want one for myself. Lin Yi asked. You eat it yourself. It's not your treat. Xiaoka said. All right, I'll pay for it myself. Lin Yi guessed that Xiaoka was a stingy person. He stood up with a smile and asked the boss to bring 2 plates of side dishes. He then paid for the 2 bowls of noodles. The side dishes and shaved noodles were placed on the table at almost the same time. Xiaoka picked up the chopsticks and started eating the side dishes without hesitation. She didn't even have time to eat the noodles before she finished all the side dishes on the table. Didn't you say that the side dishes aren't good? Lin Yi sweated as he looked at the way Xiaoka was wolfing down the food. He felt a little sad as well. Xiaoka was handling tens of millions of dollars at a time, but judging from the way she was eating, she probably didn't have anything good to eat. Otherwise, she wouldn't be wolfing down the food like a wolf. Oh, the usual ones aren't good. Today's is pretty good. Don't tell me you don't want to treat me because I ate too much. Then I'll go. Xiaoka looked at Lin Yi. Her face not red, nor her heart skipped a beat. Then you eat. Lin Yi smiled and called for 2 more dishes, but Xiaoka glared at him. You want so much. Wouldn't it be a waste if you can't finish it? Xiaoka stopped the owner and only asked him to add a side dish. Squeak, squeak. Skybolt Pig smelled the aroma of the food and started to squeak. This little pig had been living with Lin E for a long time, so it started to eat human food. After all the true qi it cultivated came from Lin E, so it didn't need to eat any natural treasures anymore. It didn't have much to eat, so it just ate human food. Unexpectedly, this little guy became addicted to it. Other than pork, it even ate dog meat. In the end, it was beaten up by General Weiwu. Lin E furrowed his brows, startled. This heavenly lightning pig was really good at causing trouble. What was it shouting at this time? Didn't he want Xiaoke to notice him? As expected, Xiaoke heard the squeak and looked at Lin E strangely. What's in your bag? Why is it making weird noises? Oh, it's an inflatable toy, Lin E said casually as he raised his fist and punched the bag twice. The pig squeaked again in pain, but this time it didn't make any more noises. Inflatable toy. Xiaoke paused and thought it was an inflatable doll. She scoffed. Disgusting. She couldn't blame her for thinking wrongly. Lin E was already so old, and there was no way he'd buy a child's inflatable toy. The only thing he could play with was an inflatable doll, and one that could make noises. And so, Xiaoke naturally thought that the jijiji sound was the sound of an inflatable doll seducing a man. How shameless. An inflatable doll could say dick. Lin E was confused by Xiaoke's scolding. Why was it disgusting to have an inflatable toy in his bag? However, Xiaoke naturally wouldn't explain it to Lin E. She just wanted to finish eating quickly and spend some time with Lin E. Although she knew that Lin E was probably looking for trouble and finding an excuse to eat with her, she still asked cautiously, Lin E, don't you have a development plan for the orphanage that you want to talk to me about? Oh, the development plan for the orphanage. Lin E nodded. He did consider this seriously, and he didn't mean to lie to Xiaoke. There are more and more children in the orphanage now. Have you considered letting them go to school? Go to school? Xiaoke paused, recalling the past. Going to school was something the children of the orphanage yearned for. Once upon a time, Xiaoke envied the children who were able to go to school, but she knew that the orphanage wasn't rich enough to pay for their tuition. She buried the thought in her heart and never mentioned it to the dean. What do you think? Lin Yi's eyes lit up and his eyes lit up. But now that Lin Yi brought it up, Xiaoke couldn't help but think about the future of the children in the orphanage. In the past, when the children were young, they would take on the responsibility of the orphanage. When they grew up, just like Xiaoke and Ken, they became the workers of the orphanage, dedicating their youth to the other children in the orphanage. It wasn't that this wasn't good, but there were more and more children in the orphanage now. There would be more and more children in the future, and the orphanage wouldn't need these people. What were these children going to do? Many of these children had congenital diseases, and even if they were cured, their bodies were much weaker than normal children. Without knowledge and skills, and with poor health, what could they do in society? People wouldn't even want them to move bricks at construction sites, right? People had to be strong and experienced to move bricks, and these children couldn't do it at all. How were these children going to survive like this? The orphanage couldn't take care of them for the rest of their lives, could it? The orphanage's expenses were very tight right now, and it was a joke to take care of these children for the rest of their lives. Xiaoke started to think about the future after Lin Yi reminded her. That's right, these children can't be like you, becoming thieves when they grow up. Right? You don't want them to be like that, right? Lin Yi asked. Are you looking down on me? Xiaoke glared at Lin Yi. Nope, I wouldn't treat you to a meal if I looked down on you. Lin Yi said, I'm telling you this because I want you to get out of it as soon as possible. Girls age easily when they're too tired, and I don't want you to become an old woman too early. Chapter 2690. I don't know what to say with your attitude, Lin Yi shrugged and said angrily. Fine, Lin Yi, what do you want? Xiaoke was helpless. What do you want me to do? Do you really have to force me? I told you that I have someone I like. Why are you? Oh, I didn't say anything then. Lin Yi lowered his head and ate his noodles, not bringing up the topic again. Xiaoka gritted her teeth in anger, but there was nothing she could do. She didn't want to compromise, but there was nothing she could do. She panicked, and her tears started to fall. Her tears were like raindrops dripping down into the bowl. Lin Yi didn't think that Xiaoka would cry. This strong girl actually cried. How wronged was she? Lin Yi didn't think that his joke would hurt Xiaoka so much. Lin Yi couldn't bear it and sighed. I'm going to talk to Pengzhan Industries and let the children of the right age go to school. Currently, Pengzhan Industries' first high school only has a middle school and doesn't have a primary school yet. If there's a need, I'll suggest them to open a primary school for the orphanage. Is that really possible? Xiaoka heard Lin Yi's words and didn't care about her tears anymore. Her mind was on the children in the orphanage. She raised her head and looked at Lin Yi with her big, watery eyes. Then, you don't have any additional conditions, right? Additional conditions? Lin Yi paused and understood what Xiaoka meant. He shook his head and smiled. No, it's all for the orphanage. That's good. Thank you. Xiaoka stood up and bowed to Lin Yi. Lin Yi, you are actually a good person, I know that. If I didn't have someone I like, I would definitely be with you. But now, I really have no other choice. I'm sorry. Is this a good person card? Lin Yi touched his nose and asked. I don't know. Xiaoka shook her head. I won't give up, Lin Yi said. I knew it. Xiaoka lowered her head helplessly and glared at Lin Yi. Fine, up to you. I'll send you back. Seeing that Xiaoka was almost done, Lin Yi didn't want to sit there anymore. After all, this was a food street with a lot of customers. Lin Yi and Xiaoka occupying a table would affect the boss's business. We can go now? That's great. Xiaoka stood up and waved her hand. It's fine. I'll go back myself. Go to your stuff, don't worry about me. Okay. Lin Yi smiled. It seemed like Xiaoka didn't want to stay with him for even a minute longer. However, Lin Yi didn't want to send Xiaoka back. He needed to find a place to wear his clothes inside out and put on the 1,000 silk mask. You aren't sending me back? Lin Yi answered so quickly that Xiaoka felt like it was unreal. Didn't you say you didn't want me to send you back? How about I send you back? Lin Yi asked. It's fine. I'm leaving. Bye. Xiaoka shook her head and left quickly. Lin Yi left as well, but he didn't go in the same direction as Xiaoka. Lin Yi found a place with no one around and put the clothes on inside out. This was the type that could be worn inside out, very suitable for traveling in the wild. Lin Yi also wore the 1,000 silk mask on his face. At this moment, Lin Yi became a stranger, exactly the same as when he was at the practitioner's market. After doing all this, Lin Yi came to the orphanage again. Xiaoka was already waiting there. Male thief. Xiaoka saw Lin Yi from afar and waved at him happily and excitedly. She must have been looking forward to seeing him for a long time. The gloominess from eating with Lin Yi was gone, and she looked like a completely different person. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and walked over. Flying Sparrow, are you ready? I told you to call me Xiaoka. Why are you calling me Xiaoka? Why are you calling me Flying Sparrow? It sounds so distant, Xiaoka said as she looked up and down at Lin Yi. You came alone? You didn't drive? She didn't know why, but Xiaoka felt that this male thief looked familiar, as if she had seen him somewhere before, especially his backpack, but he didn't seem to be carrying this backpack last time. It was understandable that Xiaoka didn't think of Lin Yi. She didn't even pay attention to Lin Yi's clothing before. Why would she pay attention to a person that she disliked? Xiaoka, I came with someone. This person is one of my masters. He'll drive over later. Let's wait for him, Lin Yi said. Oh, your master? Xiaoka paused. Lin Yi introduced her to his master. Did that mean he approved of her? Xiaoka had lost her parents at a young age, and her brother wasn't by her side either. She grew up thinking that her master was the most important thing in the world, And Lin Yi bringing her to his master meant that he approved of her. Xiaoke was very excited, and I just found out that he's Zhongli Ju's heir, so I wanted to go to the tomb to take a look. Lin Yi didn't tell Xiaoke about his constitution. After all, it wasn't a secret that Lin Yi could talk about, especially with his identity as a male thief. It wasn't something that Lin Yi could do. Ah, doesn't that mean you're Zhongli Ju's heir as well? We're going to rob a tomb. Xiaoke jumped and stuck her tongue out. Does that count as betraying my master? Of course not. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Even if Master Zhang Liju was still alive, he'd probably be very happy that his disciples and grand-disciples were going to rob a tomb and get his teachings. After all, everyone wants their sect to be able to last for a long time. He'd only be happy that we got his life's work. That's true, Xiaoke nodded. Then I don't have to worry. Right, did you eat tonight? I did, Lin Yi replied casually. Oh, I ate too. What did you eat? Xiaoke asked. Lin Yi was observing the cars on the road, and when he saw Boss Bai's Audi driving over, Lin Yi said absent-mindedly, Didn't we just eat knife-shaved noodles together? Ah, what did you say? Knife-shaved noodles? Xiaoke paused. Oh, Lin Yi realized that he was spacing out, and quickly said I was eating knife-shaved noodles with my master. His car is here. Let's go. Chapter 2691. Sorry to keep you waiting, right? Boss Bai didn't recognize Lin Yi's mask, but he recognized Lin Yi's clothes and backpack, so he naturally stopped the car and got off. Xiaoke turned to Lin Yi. What did he call you? Oh, my real name is Lu Yi. Lin Yi randomly made up a name for himself. Lu Yi? Oh, Xiaoke nodded. His name was so similar to Lin Yi's, but his character was worlds apart. If Lin Yi was 1/10 as good as Lu Yi, she wouldn't have to treat him like that. In reality, Xiaoke was blinded by love. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and Lin Yi and Lu Yi were the same person, but she treated them as two extremes. Boss Bai knew that he had made a slip of the tongue. Lin Yi told him that they had to hide their identity when they went to the tomb, but he pointed out Lin Yi's name right away. Luckily, Lin Yi reacted fast and made up a name for himself. On the surface, there didn't seem to be any flaws, or else he would have been exposed. This is Boss Bai. You can also call him Teacher Bai. Lin Yi didn't give Xiaoke too much time to react, as he introduced Boss Bai. Hello, Teacher Bai. I'm Lu Yi's friend, Xiaoke. Xiaoke bowed to Boss Bai gently and respectfully. She was a completely different person from her usual impulsive Xiaoke. Ha! Hello, I've heard he mention you a lot, Boss Bai said politely. He didn't have to worry about saying the wrong thing now. Is that so? Xiaoke was pleasantly surprised. Even the male thief's teacher mentioned her a lot. So the male thief must have a good impression of her. Let's go now. Boss Bai said, We'll scout the area tonight, and we'll enter the tomb tomorrow morning. Okay, let's go then. Xiaoke nodded and got in the car with him, sitting in the back seat. Lin Yi directed Boss Bai to drive. This time, Lin Yi didn't enter the tomb from the robber's hole, but from the exit, which would save him a lot of time and wouldn't be too dangerous. Under the guidance of Lin Yi, the car quickly arrived at the nearest place nearby. They had to walk the rest of the way. Lin Yi and the other two got off the car and walked towards the exit of the ancient tomb. All three of them had very good stamina. Although Boss Bai was no longer a warrior, walking a long distance was not a problem at all. It was just that his speed was not fast enough. An hour later, the three of them arrived at the open space in front of the exit of the tomb. It's here. Lin Yi pointed at the entrance of the tomb. Skybolt Pig seemed to have felt the aura of the tomb, and he felt like he had returned home. He immediately cried out excitedly in Lin Yi's bag. Lin He just remembered that he'd forgotten to summon the Skybolt pig. He'd forgotten about this little guy. Skybolt pig was probably having a hard time. He was beaten by Linny earlier, so he didn't dare to make any noise along the way. He endured it until they reached the entrance of the tomb, and finally he couldn't take it anymore. He called out to remind Lin E of his existence despite the risk of being beaten again. "What's that sound?" Xiaoke looked at Lin E confusedly. Why did it sound so familiar? It seemed like, oh, it's Skybolt Pig. Lin E quickly let out Skybolt Pig to divert Xiaoke's attention. Lin E realized that it wasn't that easy to disguise as two people, especially in front of the same person, and when Lin E didn't pay much attention. Ah, it's this little fellow. I haven't seen him for a long time. I miss him. As expected, Xiaoke's attention was immediately attracted to Skybolt Pig. She picked up the little fellow and looked at it affectionately. After a while, she was shocked. He's already a mystic class late phase peak spirit beast. Haha, I can help others increase their strength. Didn't you know that back in the tomb? Lin E asked. Back then, Xiaoke wasn't familiar with Lin E back then, so she didn't ask him in detail. She wasn't clear about it now, but it didn't matter. She was shocked. You can help spirit beasts increase their strength? Then why don't you do it to Sky class? Linny was speechless. I'm already at my limit. I can't increase it any further. Oh, Xiaoke nodded. Lin Yi's words brought her back to reality. Yeah, it was a joke to be able to increase a spirit beast to Sky class. Lin E quickly set up the tent. Lin E brought 2 tents, one for him and Boss Bai, and the other for Xiaoke. The food was compressed biscuits. After the tent was set up, Xiaoke thought that Lin E would be in the same tent as her. She was a little excited because Boss Bai was a teacher, so naturally he would have his own tent. Naturally, she would be with Lin E, but what she didn't expect was that Lin E and Boss Bai would enter the tent together. Male thief, you guys together? Xiaoke wasn't satisfied. She finally had a chance to be alone with Lin E. Even if they didn't do anything, they could at least talk to each other. I'm helping Master Bai heal. He's a little injured. Xiaoke, if you're not tired, you can help us too. Lin E said. Okay, then I'll sit next to you. Xiaoke was happy again. Although she couldn't talk to Lin E too secretly with Boss Bai by her side, she was satisfied as long as she could be with Lin E. Lin E didn't say much and sat cross-legged with Boss Bai in the tent. He held the pulse on Boss Bai's wrist, while Xiaoke looked at Lin Yi's healing method curiously. Male thief, you're using pure qi to heal you? Xiaoke was curious. She was an external practitioner, but she knew a little about internal practitioners. Are you guys able to heal each other because you're from the same sect? Or are you able to heal everyone's injuries? Lin Yi's eyes lit up. Are you guys able to heal each other because you're from the same sect? Xiaoke, Lilb E is healing me. If you have any questions, can you ask him later? Don't disturb him? Boss Bai jumped, afraid that Xiaoke would disturb Lin E. Chapter 2692. Haha. It's fine. Lin E didn't mind. Lin E was multitasking right now. He was healing Boss Bai, observing the situation outside, and chatting with Xiaoke at the same time. When he entered the Jade space, he practiced multitasking. He had to make sure that he wasn't in danger when he was healing, so it wasn't a big deal if he had to talk to Xiaoke. As for what you said, whether or not I can heal others depends on the situation, Lin E said with a smile. Lin E didn't say anything definite because he didn't want to promise Xiaoke that he wouldn't be able to do it. Nothing was absolute, and Lin E didn't dare to guarantee anything. However, it seemed that Udake was very loyal to him. Udake didn't tell Xiaoke the details of Lin E healing him. Otherwise, Xiaoke wouldn't have asked this question. No, it was messed up again. Lin E shook his head. Lin E was the one who healed Udake, and his current identity was the male thief, Lin E. Oh, Do you have a way to heal my injury? Xiaoka felt that she was asking too much after asking. Lin, he might have to pay a huge price to heal Boss by, but it was his, and he wouldn't complain about it. But would he do the same for her? We'll see. Lin, he didn't agree right away, because he didn't know the past of the orphanage's director. From his perspective, there should be an unknown story behind the director, just like Falbert. Before Lin, he figured out the pros and cons, he couldn't act rashly. Otherwise, if the director's enemies found out and tracked him here, wouldn't that cause trouble for him? Okay. Xiaoka could hear the perfunctory tone in Lin Yi's voice, but she was satisfied. After all, Lin Yi was a complete stranger to her, and asking a stranger to heal another stranger was a bit too much. Since Lin Yi said that he would wait and see, he must have taken her relationship into consideration. That was why he said that. While they were talking, Boss Bai felt that his wounded veins were recovering at an unbelievable speed. Boss Bai was adept at alchemy and pharmacology. He knew that no elixir, not even the ultra-quality Great Recovery Pill, could have such a rapid and marvelous effect. It was beyond his imagination. Any elixir was more awesome than he had imagined. No wonder Lin Yi said those words with such confidence. It turned out that Lin Yi had the confidence. In fact, the first level of the art of dragon mastery was already amazing when it healed people, and the second level was even faster, which was why Boss Bai was so shocked. Done? You're completely healed? Boss Bai stood up in disbelief and moved his body. He found that his wounds were all healed. It was unbelievable. His chronic illness was suddenly gone. Boss Bai didn't know what to say. Done? So fast? Xiaoka was surprised as well. She thought that healing Boss Bai was a daily task and that it would be a long process. But now, it seemed that Boss Bai was healed in just a short while. If Xiaoka didn't know the male thief's personality, she would have thought that Lin Yi and Boss Bai were scammers. Not to mention healing internal injuries. Even normal injuries couldn't be healed this quickly. Haha, it's all right. Lin Yi said, don't worry about your injuries. It's good that you know that I can heal people, but don't tell anyone. It's not good for me if more people know. Yes, don't worry, I won't tell her. Before you decide to heal me, I won't tell her either. Xiaoka quickly guaranteed. After the tomb robbery incident last time, she had a better understanding of how evil people could be. She naturally knew that some people were greedy, and if she told anyone about the male thief, it would bring him a lot of trouble. All right, Master Bai, should we continue to increase your strength now? Lin Yi asked. Now? Don't you need to rest? Boss Bai was a little surprised Lin Yi had just healed him, and it must have used up a lot of qi. He was surprised that Lin Yi wanted to increase his strength now. No need, we can do it now. Lin Yi said, hurry up and start. Let's try to finish it before the sun rises tomorrow. You're done so soon? Boss Bai was even more surprised. He only realized today that Lin Yi's ability was far beyond his imagination. In time to come, Lin Yi might really be his hope to revive the Five Elements sect. Yes, Lin Yi nodded. Teacher Bai, you just need to start channeling your practitioner's arts now. You don't need to do anything else. There'll be some pain when you level up, but you'll be recovering your strength, so the pain should be less. Okay, I understand. Boss Bai nodded and started to use the martial arts according to Lin Yi's instructions. Lin Yi grabbed Boss Bai's pulse and started to use the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. Boss Bai felt a stream of pure qi flowing into his meridians. Boss Bai was shocked, but he quickly started to work hard. It didn't take long for Boss Bai to enter the golden class from a normal person, becoming a golden class master in the early phase. Boss Bai didn't hide his strength at all, and this change in strength made Xiaoka speechless. But in the next moment, Xiaoka's shock turned into admiration. Not only could this male thief heal people's injuries quickly, but he could also increase their strength quickly as well. If this was real, would she be able to return to her peak strength when she wasn't injured? The old dean of the orphanage looked like an old lady, but Xiaoka knew that she wasn't very old. She was only 40 years old, and if she took good care of herself, she would look very youthful, but the old dean's face was full of wrinkles. This was all caused by internal injuries that blocked up the meridians in her body, and the dean had forcefully recovered a portion of her strength, causing her body to age prematurely. If Lin Yi could heal her injuries and recover them, she'd probably be many years younger in an instant. In fact, Xiaoka's guess was right. Grandma's son was like this. After Lin Yi healed her, she looked like she was only in her early 30s, completely different from the old scavenger. Chapter 2693. Although Lin Yi said that he could speak when he was channeling his practitioner's arts, Boss Bai couldn't. He didn't want to be distracted, afraid that his meridians would be blocked again. Early phase of golden class. Early phase peak. Mid phase of golden class. Late phase of golden class. Late phase of golden class. Late phase of golden class. Early phase of mystic class. Boss Bai's strength kept increasing, and Xiaoka's expression changed from shock and admiration to expressionless now. She was used to it. There was a saying, shock and surprise, you'll get used to it. Naturally, Boss Bai was used to it as well. He was numb to leveling up, and he finally believed Lin Yi when he said that he could go all the way to mystic class late phase peak. Finally, Boss Bai felt that Lin Yi had stopped transferring qi, and his strength stopped at late phase peak of earth class. He stood up and let out a long breath. Boss Bai, am back. Can my master recover the strength as well? Xiaoka looked at Lin Yi hopefully. Yes, Lin Yi nodded. As long as I'm sure. Thank you. Xiaoka nodded gratefully. She knew that, if it was possible, Lin Yi would do it. He wasn't someone who made promises easily. Is it really that amazing? I recovered just like that? Boss Bai only felt that his body was full of energy, and he looked a few years younger. Here's a small qi gathering pill. Take it. Lin Yi took out a small qi gathering pill and gave it to Boss Bai. This isn't too good, right? I'm already very grateful. And I still need your pill. Boss Bai was a little embarrassed. Master Bai, aren't you Lu Yi's master? Why are you being so polite? Xiaoka felt strange. In her eyes, it was perfectly normal for a disciple to give something to his master and help him heal. There was no need for too much explanation, but Boss Bai was so grateful that it didn't seem like they were master and disciple. Even teachers can't accept things from students casually. Boss Bai shook his head. All right, Mr. Bai, I've already said it. Why are you still so polite? Lin Yi forcefully stuffed the small qi gathering pill into Boss Bai's hand. Well, if that's the case, I won't stand on ceremony. Boss Bai took a deep breath. He took the pill and swallowed it. A pure stream of true qi spread out from his dantian. Boss Bai hurriedly held his breath and operated his inner force mantra to dissolve the medicinal effect of the pill. Xiaoka looked at the white boss enviously and whispered to Lin Yi, male thief, I want to practice spiritual qi too. Can you help me? Sure. Lin Yi didn't hesitate this time and directly agreed. But do you have a suitable cultivation method? Yes. My brother said that my family has a secret art that has been passed down from generation to generation. It's suitable for girls to learn. Xiaoka said, that's the spiritual art. Can you help me increase my strength? That's possible. Lin Yi nodded. But why doesn't your brother practice it? Right. Since when did you have a brother? Oh, I didn't get to tell you yet. I found my long-lost brother. His name is Udake. He's a guy that I really hate, a guy who's chasing after me. Sigh. Although I'm very grateful to him, I already have you in my heart. I can't agree to him. Xiaoka sighed lightly. Oh, what's his name? Lin Yi asked, pretending not to know. He almost exposed himself today, so he had to clear his name. Otherwise, Xiaoka would find out sooner or later. Never mind, you wouldn't know him even if I told you. Let's not talk about him. Xiaoka didn't say Lin Yi's name. She was afraid that the male thief would cause trouble for Lin Yi. Lin Yi was quite strong now, and Xiaoka was afraid that the male thief wouldn't be able to fight him. Let's talk about my family's secret art. This spiritual art is purine, and I heard that it's a very powerful ancient art. Men can't practice it. Only girls can. Oh, that's quite magical. It should be a special art, or else it wouldn't be called a family art. Linny knew of some weird arts that could only be practiced by specific people. For example, Xiao Xiao's and his. Weren't they also pure yang arts? Girls couldn't practice it, which was the opposite of Xiaoka's. Yeah, it's quite magical. Xiaoka said, my brother said he'll find a chance to give it to me. Okay, I'll help you look into it. Lin Yi nodded. Xiaoka did need to increase her strength a little, or else she'd be too weak, and always doing dangerous things. Linny really couldn't be at ease. Xiaoka was very happy the male thief didn't give her a direct answer about her master, but he agreed to help her without hesitation. Xiaoka felt that the male thief really cared about her. Boss Bai was a patient man, and while the breakthrough of the small rejuvenation pill was a little painful, he didn't show any signs of it from his expression. If it weren't for his strong willpower, he wouldn't have been able to last until now after losing all his meridians. Thank you, Boss Bai, who had broken through to Earth Class early phase, said to Lin Yi gratefully, but with my current strength, I can only make Yellow Class second-level pills. I can't make Yellow Class third-level pills, yet the chi supply can't keep up. Linny nodded. Boss Bai was a second-level Golden Class refiner, and with the addition of Guan Xin and Han Jingjing, it wouldn't be a problem for Lin Yi to refine a third-level elixir if that combined practitioner's arts really worked and Lin Yi could practice it. The only limitation was that each practitioner could only practice one type of practitioner's art. Lin Yi couldn't change the one he was practicing. I told you no need to thank me. Linny waved his hand. It's already daylight. Should we rest for a bit before going? Or should we go straight? Let's go straight. I'm full of energy right now. I don't need to rest at all. Boss Bai said, plus, I can't wait. What about you, Xiaoka? Linny turned to look at Xiaoka. I'm fine. I also rested for a bit before. Xiaoka shook her head, indicating that she was fine. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.